The second I opened my eyes to this new life, I wasn't about to play the victim again. Right after my rebirth, I immediately called my driver and told him to bring the absolute most expensive car in our garage to pick me up from school. Why? All because of that two-faced, backstabbing snake. Just to get his dirty hands on my childhood friend, he'd been dropping little hints everywhere, brainwashing the entire student body into thinking I was the only dirt-poor scholarship kid in the whole school. The absolute nerve. He even went around pretending that he was the true, wealthy young master of the Jin Quan family. So, when that smug jerk approached me after the final bell rang, smirking as he offered me a pity ride home if I didn't have one, I didn't even have to answer. Right on cue, a stunning, globally limited edition Rolls-Royce smoothly glided up and parked right at the main school gate. Amidst the loud, echoing gasps of pure awe from the massive crowd of students, my driver stepped out of the luxury ride and walked straight up to me. With a deep bow, he spoke with the utmost respect. "Young master, the master sent me to personally escort you home." "Understood," I replied coolly. Seeing that this jaw-dropping ride actually belonged to me, the other guys in my class were completely, utterly stunned. "Ethan? Wait, how on earth could it be Ethan? What exactly is Ethan's real background? How could his family possibly afford to drive such a ridiculously luxurious car? Hey, Tyler. You're super close with Ethan, right? Do you know what his family situation actually is?" At that exact moment, Tyler Evans stood perfectly still, feeling a searing, burning pain spreading across half his face, almost as if I had just reached out and invisibly, brutally slapped him right across the cheek. A globally limited edition Rolls-Royce. Just how much crazy money would it even take to afford one of those? Humiliated, Tyler silently clenched his fists in pure frustration. By now, I had already comfortably settled into the plush leather seats of my car. Catching a quick glimpse in the rearview mirror, I spotted Tyler's dad pulling up in the Evans family's basic Porsche to pick him up. But honestly, with my majestic ride having just served as the ultimate appetizer, that tiny Porsche didn't even stand a ghost of a chance at impressing anyone. Seeing how totally out of character I was acting today, my driver couldn't help but look back and ask, "Young master, didn't you always hate keeping such a high profile? I've completely changed my mind. Starting today, I want to be picked up and dropped off by our flashiest cars every single day. The higher the profile, the better. Ideally, bring me a completely different supercar every single day." Hearing my new, confident request, the driver was absolutely thrilled. "Yes, young master, you really should have done this a long time ago. Honestly, in my past life, I was the absolute, undisputed treasure of the Wright family. Pampered endlessly by everyone in the household from a very young age, they practically treated me like royalty, terrified I'd break if they held me too tightly or melt away if they weren't careful enough. I was originally supposed to head straight abroad for my studies, but all because of a stupid marriage arrangement with the Vance family. I ended up slumming it at Lynching High School instead, just to foster romantic feelings with the young lady of the Vance family." I casually glanced over at Uncle Lee. "Is there a dinner gathering scheduled for tonight?" "Yes, sir. It's regarding your upcoming marriage to Miss Vance." "Perfect. That is just great." I clearly remembered this exact night. During this very dinner in my past life, my parents had actually wanted to call off the entire engagement, but Chloe Vance's greedy mother was absolutely hell-bent on forcing her daughter to marry into my wealthy family. Chloe was disgusted and reluctant in every possible way, but she just couldn't override her mother's forceful wishes. After all, the Vance family business was already teetering right on the terrifying brink of total collapse. Without the massive financial backing of the Wright family, the Vance family would easily go bankrupt within 6 short months. Back in my past life, I was pathetic. My heart completely softened. I just couldn't bear to see the family of the childhood friend I secretly, desperately loved fall into total ruin. So, like an idiot, I readily agreed to marry Chloe right after our high school graduation. But in this lifetime, I won't ever be that naive, foolish pushover again. Soon enough, the luxury car rolled to a smooth stop right at the grand entrance of the Four Seasons Hotel. I stepped out of the car and immediately spotted her. Chloe, who had just arrived and was lingering by the opulent entrance. Outside the hotel doors, Chloe had deliberately waited around just to catch me alone. Only after seeing me casually walk toward her did she cross her arms and speak with ice in her voice. "Ethan, I'm warning you right now. I don't like you, and I will never, ever marry you. Good. I shot back instantly. Me neither. As soon as those harsh words left my mouth, Chloe's brow furrowed tightly in shock. She knew about the pathetic little crush I used to have on her back then. It wasn't like she couldn't tell. Honestly, even a total fool knew I was secretly head over heels in love with her. But since I never officially confessed, she never planned to expose it either. Anyway, she had absolutely zero romantic interest in me. Yet, at this very moment, she was completely thrown off because I actually looked her in the eye and said I didn't like her and didn't want to marry her. Recovering quickly, Chloe just gave a cold, mocking sneer, wrongly assuming that after being brutally rejected, my fragile male pride was just acting up. Inside the VIP private dining room, both of my wealthy parents were already comfortably seated. And as for the Vance family, since Mr. Vance had tragically passed away early on, Mrs. Vance was the only one there representing their side of the table. The absolute moment Chloe and I walked into the private room, Mrs. Vance stepped forward with a fake, beaming smile and affectionately grabbed my hand. "Oh, Ethan, just look at you. You've gotten so much thinner after not seeing you for just a few days. But my goodness, you've become even more handsome." I remembered all too well that this woman, Mrs. Vance, was always ruthlessly calculating. Back then, right after I foolishly married Chloe, Mrs. Vance plotted behind my back to drain my wealth. Long before Chloe and I even tied the knot, this old snake had already been actively scheming, plotting to get her greedy claws on our marital assets. Later on in my past life, Mrs. Vance relied entirely on the massive fortune I brought into the Vance family just to live out her remaining years in absolute luxury. The worst part? She even dressed up fabulously, using my money, to attend Chloe and Tyler's sickening wedding later on. Looking directly into Mrs. Vance's ridiculously fake suck-up expression, I forcefully pulled my hand back out of her grip. "Actually, Auntie Vance, I've gained 10 pounds since the last time you saw me. Let's cut the fake small talk and just get straight to business today." Seeing my surprisingly cold, dismissive attitude, Mrs. Vance couldn't help but freeze, suddenly feeling deeply embarrassed. Standing right beside her, Chloe looked completely ticked off. "Ethan, how can you talk to my mom like that? I'm just telling the truth." "Chloe, what's there to be so worked up about?" Faced with my total indifference, Chloe let out a freezing sneer. "Ethan, drop the spoiled rich kid act. I know you look down on us, and I know the Vance family is punching way above our weight class. If you don't want to marry me, just say it straight to my face." Beside her, Mrs. Vance frantically slapped Chloe's arm. "Chloe, you foolish girl. What kind of nonsense are you spouting?" The Vance family was already staring down a harsh decline. If they lost the backing of the Wright family, they were finished. How could a mother and daughter possibly save their failing family business on their own? But Chloe made zero effort to hide her absolute disgust. "Mom, don't stop me. Every single word I just said is the truth." Right on cue, my parents' expressions hardened with pure fury. If they were holding on to basic, polite manners just a second ago, now, they couldn't even force a polite smile if their lives depended on it. So, this was how Chloe truly viewed their son all along. "It seems your daughter has absolutely no desire to marry my son. I think it's best we just call this whole engagement off." "Mr. Wright! Brother Wright!" "This is just Chloe acting out. Please, please don't be mad. I'll make her give Ethan a proper apology right now. Besides, hasn't Ethan always been head over heels for my Chloe? These two kids are just having a silly little lover's quarrel. Ethan, isn't that right?" Mrs. Vance stared at me with desperate, pleading eyes, but I just looked back, my voice completely deadpan. "Auntie, you're deeply mistaken. Between Chloe and me, it's never been anything more than childhood friendship." Just now at the entrance, Chloe made herself crystal clear. She told me she despises me and that she would absolutely never marry me. Well, I feel the exact same way. So, I came here today to lay it all out. I am officially breaking off my engagement to Chloe. Hearing those words, Mrs. Vance stood paralyzed, while Chloe froze in her tracks, her jaw practically hitting the floor. In my past life, because I was so desperately in love with her, I jumped through fiery hoops just to get her attention. She knew exactly how wrapped around her finger I was. So, how on earth could a guy so hopelessly devoted suddenly agree to scrap the engagement? Even my parents were totally blindsided. I had been so ridiculously stubborn back then, They begged me not to marry into the Vance family, but I refused to listen to reason. Why the sudden change of heart today? Auntie, we won't be staying for dinner. From now on, our two families need to keep their distance. Throwing down the gauntlet, I stood straight up and walked right over to my folks. Mom, Dad, let's go home. Staring at my parents sitting right in front of me, my eyes started to sting. Because in my past life, it was entirely because of my blind obsession that the Wright family was completely annihilated by Chloe's vicious retaliation later on. To put it bluntly, Chloe was a backstabbing, ungrateful snake. In my previous life, my parents gave the Vance family everything they had, yet the absolute second the Vance family climbed to the top, and Chloe secured her ultimate power and status. The very first target she ruthlessly crushed was the Wright family's empire. Chloe's ego was massive, but her mind was terrifyingly petty. Deep down, she always felt that my parents letting me marry her was a massive humiliation, a pathetic handout meant to mock the Vance family. Because of that twisted logic, the instant she clawed her way to power, she couldn't wait to completely eradicate the Wright family just to wash away her so-called disgrace. A toxic woman like her doesn't deserve a single drop of mercy from us. Once we got home for dinner, I made an ironclad vow. I was going to lose the weight. My mom didn't utter a single negative word. She just silently walked into the dining room and set a warm plate right in front of me. Staring down at the plain boiled vegetables and shrimp, I hesitated for a second. But my mom just smiled, her voice impossibly tender. Sweetheart, no matter how badly you want to lose weight, you can't just starve yourself. From now on, I'll have our head chef prepare a special, healthy menu just for you. Hot tears instantly blurred my vision. God, it felt so incredibly good to have my mom and dad right here by my side. Coming back to this second life, I finally truly understood the invaluable weight of family. In my previous run, my weight gave me crippling insecurities. I completely ignored my parents' unconditional warmth and desperately chased after fake affection from toxic people instead. Thank you, Mom. I ducked my head and shoveled the vegetables into my mouth in massive bites. I swore to myself right then and there within 3 months, I absolutely had to slim down. By the very next day, I was starving so badly the whole room was practically spinning. But when I stepped onto the bathroom scale, I saw I had already dropped 5 pounds. As thrilled as I wasn't stupid. I knew it was just water weight. Losing weight is a brutal grind of perseverance. I absolutely could not afford to drop my guard. Meanwhile, at school, getting chauffeured back and forth in a fleet of luxury cars had the other students totally green with envy. The second I sat down at my desk, my buddy Tyler slid a fancy box of chocolates my way. Funny thing is, even though I was an insecure wreck when I was younger, I actually wasn't all that fat to begin with. But somewhere down the line, my weight mysteriously skyrocketed. Back then, I honestly thought it was just caused by crushing stress. But looking back on it later, I realized something was terribly wrong. Because the exact timeline of when I started ballooning up perfectly coincided with the exact day I met Tyler. On top of using mouth-watering junk food to tempt me, that bastard must have secretly spiked it with some kind of drug just to guarantee I'd pack on the pounds. Oh, come on, man, don't be shy, he pushed. I just saw how ridiculously hard you've been working out to shed that weight. One tiny piece of chocolate isn't going to kill your progress, I swear. Before I could even protest, he forcefully shoved the fancy chocolates right into my hand. But he definitely didn't expect my next move. I let out a sudden, startled yelp, and the entire expensive box went crashing straight to the floor. Instantly, the loud clatter drew everyone's attention, causing a massive disruption right in the middle of the quiet classroom. The English teacher, who was right in the middle of her lecture, gave us a sharp scolding and immediately confiscated the entire box of chocolates without a second thought. Watching his precious, imported chocolates get snatched away by the teacher, Tyler's smug face contorted into something incredibly ugly and panicked. Getting normal snacks confiscated was usually no big deal. But this was different. He had heavily spiked those chocolates with something nasty. Sitting right next to him, I calmly settled back into my chair, thoroughly enjoying the sight of his dirty scheme falling to pieces. I knew exactly what would happen next. Our English teacher absolutely loved scoring free stuff. That specific box was so insanely expensive that, now that it was firmly in her possession, Every single piece was destined to end up straight in the teacher's stomach. I honestly couldn't wait to see how the hell Tyler was going to clean up this catastrophic mess once the horrible truth came to light. In the blink of an eye, the bell finally rang for recess. The second class ended. Tyler sprinted frantically toward the staff office, desperate to grovel and admit his so-called mistake. But knowing the English teacher, those chocolates were already long gone. However, right outside the office door, he ran headfirst into the one person he didn't want to see right now, Chloe. Seeing him looking so completely flustered and defeated, Chloe immediately asked, "Tyler, what on earth were you doing in the teacher's office?" Tyler stumbled through an excuse, but the moment he dropped my name, Chloe's face instantly twisted with extreme annoyance. "Ugh, you really need to keep your distance from that total loser, Ethan. Seriously. Did you completely forget what happened at the pool last time?" She scoffed. "Did you just magically forget telling me that Ethan was the one who violently dragged you underwater? He clearly had malicious intentions from the very start. There is absolutely no reason for a great guy like you to be friends with a toxic creep like him." Hearing Chloe fiercely defend him like that, Tyler felt a sick, secret thrill of absolute joy bubble up in his chest. But, remembering how I'd been chauffeured to and from school in high-end luxury cars lately, his burning curiosity took over. "Hey, Chloe, I've been meaning to ask, is Ethan's family actually loaded? I mean, I literally see him getting picked up and dropped off in a completely different, crazy expensive car every single day now, so his family has to have a ton of cash, right? Aren't you two supposed to be childhood friends?" Chloe immediately snapped back. "I have absolutely zero relationship with him. Whether his weird family has money or not has literally nothing to do with me." Hearing the raw, venomous disgust dripping from her voice, Tyler panicked and quickly tried to backtrack. "Ah! I'm so sorry. I was just casually asking, that's all." Seeing his incredibly flustered face, Chloe realized she had snapped a little too harshly at her crush. Her voice softened significantly as she stepped in to comfort him. Okay, calm down. I know you're just paranoid that I might actually like him or something, but you can relax, okay? The only person I genuinely like is you. I would rather die than fall for a pathetic, ugly freak like Ethan." Hearing that confession, the tips of Tyler's ears practically burned bright red. Chloe. Wow. Chloe. But right as she threw herself romantically into his eager arms, Tyler's eyes widened. He spotted someone standing directly behind her. It was me. I had literally just strolled up the stairs from the lower floor, only to be treated to this incredibly cliché, mind-blowing little soap opera. Completely panicking, Tyler forcefully shoved Chloe away from his chest. "Ethan! Don't get the wrong idea. Just now, I was only—" But before he could finish his pathetic excuse, Chloe just shamelessly leaned right back into his arms, glaring daggers at me. "There's zero misunderstanding here, Ethan. We actually like each other. Tyler is my official boyfriend now." She flashed me a freezing, arrogant sneer, her eyes burning with a desperate hunger to see me completely break down. She wanted nothing more than to see absolute heartbreak and crushing regret completely shatter my expression. After all, in my pathetic past life, I used to be deeply, secretly in love with her. I followed her around like a brainless, lost puppy, even starving myself desperately to lose weight just for her sake. She wanted to prove that turning my back on her was the most catastrophic mistake of my life. But right as she stood there, smugly waiting for my tears and agonizing look of regret, I just stared deadpan, casually raised my finger to point right at the two of them, and loudly called out to the strict dean of students, who just so happened to be marching up the stairs on his daily patrol. "Excuse me, Dean. Chloe and Tyler are openly dating on school grounds." Seeing the terrifying Dean storming directly toward them, Tyler violently shoved Chloe off of him in a split second. Having caught these two supposedly flawless, top-tier model students passionately hugging in the middle of the hallway, the dean's face instantly darkened into pure fury. "You two, my office, right now." And just like that, the mortified lovebirds were marched away like criminals. Right before she turned the corner, Chloe shot me a deeply vicious, murderous glare. Honestly, I couldn't care less about her pathetic, childish tantrum. The current version of Chloe was too weak to cause me even an ounce of real harm. When the next period ended, Tyler finally dragged himself back into the classroom, looking utterly defeated and crushed. The rest of the class instantly swarmed around him, aggressively bombarding him with questions about what went down. but all Tyler could do was shoot me a look of pure, unadulterated hatred and venom. Seconds later, Chloe stormed furiously into the room, lunged straight at me, and viciously grabbed my arm. "Get your ass out here, right now." Her grip was surprisingly brutal, her nails digging in as she practically tried to drag my entire body out into the hallway by force. Just as I was casually plotting how to totally humiliate her for a second time today, a pale, slender arm suddenly shot out across my vision, forcefully pinning Chloe's wrist down. "Let him go." That icy, commanding voice sounded incredibly familiar. It was the exact same voice I heard the very moment I had been reborn into this life. Seeing that her sudden attacker was none other than the gorgeous Natalie Vance, Chloe absolutely lost her mind. "Are you kidding me? You're seriously going to stick up for this loser Ethan too?" She violently yanked her arm to shake Natalie off, but Natalie stood there like a stone statue, completely unfazed. With barely an ounce of visible effort, she completely locked Chloe in place, making it absolutely impossible for the raging girl to break free from her iron grip. Realizing she couldn't even shake off Natalie, Chloe's face completely clouded over with furious resentment. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught Tyler casually sitting on a chair not too far away, and naturally, Chloe's massive ego couldn't take the humiliation. Desperate not to look like a pathetic loser in front of her crush, she took advantage of her opponent being off guard and launched a brutal kick straight at Natalie. Caught totally off guard, Natalie lost her balance and violently slammed into the wooden desk behind her. Seeing red, I spun around and screamed out into the hallway. "Teacher, Chloe is attacking people." "Ethan, shut the hell up," Chloe hissed, her expression twisting into something truly ugly. But it was already way too late. Hearing the sudden commotion, our homeroom teacher stormed over, only to find Natalie clutching her stomach with a ghost-white face, while Chloe was still furiously pointing her finger right at my nose. You could tell the homeroom teacher was absolutely at the end of her rope. "Chloe, exactly how many times are you going to cause a massive scene in a single day? That is enough. Have your parents come to the school immediately after classes today." Within moments, Chloe was dragged away by the fuming teacher, leaving me to turn back to a pale, trembling Natalie. "Come on, I am taking you to the infirmary," I declared. And without even waiting for her permission, I scooped her right up into my arms. Natalie instantly froze, staring up at my profile in a total daze, which immediately sparked a massive uproar of gasps and whispers from all the nosy classmates surrounding us. Annoyed by the loud crowd making such a big fuss, Natalie furrowed her brows, her gaze suddenly turning incredibly cold and razor-sharp. That icy glare sent a terrifying shiver straight down the spines of everyone in the room, and nobody dared to make another peep. Flustered, Natalie clearly didn't want me carrying her anymore either. She grabbed my wrist tight and stubbornly led the way out of the classroom. I just stared down at the delicate hand she was using to drag me down the hall. I was honestly a bit stunned, especially since I could clearly see the tips of her ears burning a bright, embarrassed red. It suddenly triggered a memory from right after my rebirth. Thinking back to when I was dragged out of the freezing water by someone who frantically gave me CPR, I blurted out, almost as if possessed by the realization, "Natalie. That terrible day at the pool, the person who actually gave me CPR to save my life. It was you, wasn't it?" As soon as the heavy words left my mouth, even I was startled by my own boldness. Natalie, on the other hand, violently flinched like she had just been struck by a bolt of lightning, quickly snatching back the hand she was using to pull me. I am sorry. I really didn't mean to cross a line." I softly replied, "Hey, I never said you did. I just wanted to properly thank you for saving my life." Natalie didn't utter a single word in response, just awkwardly speed-walked toward the infirmary. Once inside, the school doctor took a careful look at her fresh injury. "Oh, it is nothing major," the doctor sighed. "Just apply some soothing safflower oil. One bottle is $80. You kids can just pay directly at the front counter." Hearing that absurd price tag, Natalie tightly pursed her lips. "No need," she muttered coldly. After dropping those two words, she abruptly turned around and marched right out of the clinic. I frantically scrambled right behind her, calling out her name. But she had absolutely no intention of waiting up for me, and as I anxiously sprinted to catch up, my clumsy foot slipped hard on the floor. Seeing that I was about to faceplant, Natalie quickly reached out and firmly steadied my arm. "Geez, did you hurt yourself anywhere, you idiot?" I eagerly shook my head, quickly fished the freshly bought bottle of safflower oil out of my pocket and practically shoved it straight into her reluctant hands. Look, I know your injury isn't super severe, but I've been using this stuff a lot lately myself. Seriously, you should just give it a try. Staring down at the expensive medicine in her palms, she went dead silent for a long moment. I knew perfectly well that as the heavily despised, illegitimate daughter of the wealthy Vance family, her life was utter hell. She was ruthlessly and constantly bullied by the wicked Mrs. Vance and her golden child Chloe. And now that the Vance family was drowning in sudden financial ruin, it was completely impossible to expect that awful woman to give Natalie a single dime. With a stubborn sigh, Natalie aggressively pushed the bottle back into my chest. Thanks, but no thanks. Knowing I had to protect her fragile pride, I quickly countered, Hey, I am absolutely not giving you this for free. There is serious compensation involved. Hearing the magic word compensation, she finally paused her retreating footsteps. Listen, I know you are strapped for cash over at the Vance household. Plus, you literally saved my life. So, I am planning to strike a little business deal with you. What kind of deal? She asked suspiciously. You know I am desperately trying to shed some weight, right? If you coach me, how about I pay you a solid $500 every single month? Hearing my wild offer, she immediately frowned. I am definitely not worth that kind of money. Well, obviously I will only pay up if I actually see some real results, I joked back. Without missing a beat, I whipped a few crisp $100 bills out of my pocket and firmly pressed them into her hand right alongside the medicine. Consider this an advance for this week's hard work. Just think of it as my personal thank you gift for keeping me breathing, okay? From now on, every day during the lunch break and afternoon recess, you are going to wait for me. But before she could even formulate a rejection, the loud class bell rudely interrupted us. Grabbing her sleeve, I started dragging her back toward the room. Hurry up, class is starting. But by the time I finally rushed back into Class A, the teacher was nowhere to be seen. However, my personal desk and chair, that was a completely different story. Some absolute coward had violently kicked them over while I was gone, leaving all my textbooks, notes, and the entire contents of my backpack trashed across the dirty floor. Seeing this pathetic little stunt, my eyes instantly darkened with rage. The entire classroom fell dead silent. Every single pair of eyes glued to my reaction. All right, show yourselves. Who the hell did this? I demanded, my voice dangerously low. Unsurprisingly, not a single pathetic soul in that room dared to respond. But then, Kevin Joe loudly scoffed with an incredibly haughty, punchable attitude. Man, who knows? Maybe a strong gust of wind just blew it over. But hey, then again, maybe annoying little snitches just naturally deserve to get punished. Staring dead into Kevin's smug face, I instantly knew he was the culprit. The guy had always been Tyler's loyal lapdog, after all. Letting out a sharp, mocking laugh, I closed the distance in 3 strides and forcefully flipped Kevin's heavy desk straight up into the air. The desk crashed loudly, causing Kevin to jump back in pure terror. Ethan, you psycho! Are you completely insane? Finally, I kicked Kevin's chair right out from under him. His panicked screams instantly echoed through the entire classroom. I just glared at him, eyes burning with ice. Shut the hell up, I snapped. Consider this your only warning. If you don't want your parents dragged in here one by one, keep your filthy hands off my desk. I, Ethan Wright, was no longer their punching bag. Right then, Tyler stood up, putting on his usual holier-than-thou act. Ethan, you're crossing a line, he preached. We're all classmates here. How could you bully someone like this? Shut up, I cut him off. You're the one sneaking around, breaking the dating rules, yet you stand there playing the victim while letting your lackeys take the fall. If I report what happened today, they're the ones getting slammed with a demerit, all because of you. Is that how you treat your so-called friends? Instantly, Tyler's face twisted into an ugly scowl. I had completely flipped the script, pinning him right to his own pillar of shame. Seeing his golden boy speechless, Kevin desperately stepped up to defend him again. Ethan, shut your mouth, Kevin yelled. That's total nonsense. We just can't stand the sight of you. Tyler has absolutely nothing to do with this. Oh, really? I smirked. So you're admitting you're the one who trashed my desk today? Listen here. If you've got the guts to trash my desk today, you'll have the guts to assault me tomorrow. You know what? Forget the teacher. I think I need to call the cops. The second I dropped the word cops, all the color completely drained from Kevin's face. Seeing me turn toward the door, he panicked, lunging forward and grabbing my arm. Ethan, stop right there. Just my luck. The literature teacher was walking through the door at that exact moment, catching Kevin aggressively grabbing me. I let Kevin's yank throw me off balance, crashing hard right into the overturned desk. Seeing me take a dive, the teacher gasped and rushed over to help me. Ethan, are you all right? She asked, frantic. Acting completely shaken, I forced a pale smile and shook my head. Teacher, I'm fine. What on earth is going on in here? Why is this classroom a complete disaster zone? Kevin and his crew just stood there, paralyzed with fear. Nobody dared to breathe a word. They just stared at me in pure panic, waiting for the executioner to drop the axe. I slowly glanced over at Kevin's sweating squad, knowing my trap was perfectly set. Oh, we just had a tiny misunderstanding during recess, I said softly. But we've already worked it all out, right guys? Hearing me actually cover for them, Kevin and his goons were left utterly shell-shocked. The teacher clearly wasn't buying my innocent act for a second, but she dusted me off anyway. Well, as long as this little misunderstanding is truly resolved, she warned. But heaven help you if I find out someone here is taking deliberate revenge. As she laid down the law, her sharp gaze shot straight toward Tyler. The scandalous gossip about him and Chloe secretly dating was already the hottest topic in the teacher's lounge. That piercing look from the teacher made Tyler squirm under his skin, looking like he wanted to vanish. Later that afternoon, Tyler suddenly cornered me while I was heading out for a run. Plastering a fake, guilty look on his face, he threw an arm over my shoulder. Hey, Ethan. Man, when Kevin and the guys were harassing you, I seriously tried to talk them down. I just couldn't stop them. I am so sorry. You didn't get hurt back there, did you? I shrugged his arm off and stared at him with pure ice. Does this have a single thing to do with you? With that, I turned to walk away. Panicking that he was losing control, Tyler scrambled right in front of me. Wait, Ethan! Look, I've already admitted I messed up, so just let it go. Come on, we're best friends after all. I know you're just hurt because Chloe confessed to me instead of you. I get why you snitched, but bro, you just can't force true love. Tyler deliberately raised his voice, making absolutely sure every nosy student lingering in the hallway heard his little performance. I glanced at the crowd of students, their eyes shining with juicy gossip, and gave a cold, mocking smirk. You mean Chloe? She's just secondhand trash I didn't want anymore. If you're that desperate for her, be my guest. Dropping that bomb, I shoved right past Tyler's shoulder. He completely froze in his tracks. What did I mean by trash I didn't want? Idiot. Right on cue, Chloe stomped out of the faculty office looking absolutely murderous. The homeroom teacher had forced her to stand in the corner for a whole period and even slashed her credit points. Ethan, Chloe growled under her breath, her eyes shooting daggers at me. I paused just long enough to watch. With one swift, dramatic motion, Chloe clung to Tyler's arm. Listen up. Starting today, Tyler is my boyfriend, and don't any of you even think about tearing us apart. I glanced back at Tyler's face, sneering with deep satisfaction in my heart. In my past life, Chloe had obsessed over Tyler for years, but honestly, that was only because she couldn't lock him down when they were young. Like the old saying goes, the one thing you can't get in your youth becomes the ghost that haunts your entire life. But when you actually catch that prize early on, the fantasy shatters really fast, especially since the Vance family was on the verge of total bankruptcy, and Tyler, he was nothing more than a lowly driver's son. The nightmare those two were about to face went so much deeper than Tyler's pathetic little lies. Their tragic ending was practically written in stone. Without another word, I turned and walked away. Later that afternoon, right as the final bell rang, I headed over to wait for Natalie outside the door of Class F. Just then, I caught sight of Mrs. Vance storming into the school like a furious hurricane. A massive crowd of nosy onlookers was already swarming outside the principal's office. Even all the way down in Class F, I heard it loud and clear, the sharp, stinging crack of a slap echoing straight out of the teacher's office. Mrs. Vance's shrill, frantic voice pierced right through our ears. Chloe Vance, you might not give a single damn about your reputation, but I absolutely care about mine. Who on earth gave you permission to start dating? I get why she was losing it. Chloe was Mrs. Vance's one and only hope right now. If Chloe's little romance ended up tanking her grades, the Vance family would be completely wiped out, especially at a do-or-die moment like this. The ironic part? Chloe had actually fallen for some other guy instead of me. But seriously, aside from my family, the Wrights, who else could possibly step up to save their sinking ship right now? Right in the middle of all that drama, Natalie's clear, calm voice pulled me back to reality. Ethan, as soon as I spun around, there she was, standing right in front of me. Let's go. We need to head to the pool. With your current size, running won't do much for weight loss. And honestly, it is just going to wreck your knees. Swimming is way better for you. Then, let's just go to my place. I blurted out, surprising even myself with the sudden invite. My house has a pool. Natalie completely froze up for a second. Hey, don't sweat it. I've got the cab fare covered, I said, quickly shoving a $50 bill right into her hand. She stared at the $50 for a second, totally silent, before stubbornly shoving it right back at me. I have already been paid for this. Since I gave you my word to help you slim down, I am definitely not taking any extra cash from you. Seeing how dead set she was, I backed off and didn't push it. The two of us walked in a quiet rhythm, one after the other, heading straight toward the school gates. Out of nowhere, a massive luxury car rolled up, stopping impressively right in front of us. The driver immediately hopped out and held the door wide open for Natalie. She slid into the back seat looking incredibly stiff and awkward. I climbed in right behind her. Catching her tense, uneasy expression, I flashed an assuring smile. Hey, don't be so nervous. My folks are actually super nice and incredibly kind. They just really can't stand Chloe. That is all. Natalie just stayed completely quiet. Before long, the car smoothly pulled up to the massive Wright family estate. The second we stepped through the front doors, the mouth-watering smell of home-cooked food came drifting down the hallway. I immediately chimed in, Hey, let's grab some dinner first. That way, we will actually have the energy to burn some calories. Oh, there is no need. Natalie finally started her polite refusal, but my mom's sudden voice cut her right off. Ethan, hurry up, change your shoes, and get in here to eat. As my mom bustled over to the entryway, she suddenly paused, finally spotting Natalie standing quietly right next to me. Natalie? My dad muttered in surprise, just as he was making his way down the stairs from the second floor. Seeing her walk through the door with me left him looking completely baffled. After all, didn't his son absolutely loathe every single person from the Vance family? How in the world did I end up getting so close with Natalie Vance? Mom, Dad, Natalie came over today to help me with my weight loss, I announced clearly. From now on, just set an extra plate at the table for dinner every night. I said it so naturally, like she was already part of the family, leaving her absolutely zero room to say no. My parents exchanged a quick, knowing look. Even though they held zero love for anyone in the Vance family, they still warmly invited Natalie to change her shoes, come right on in, and join us for dinner. Over in the dining area, a massive spread of 6 delicious dishes and a hot soup was waiting on the table. Since I was on this brutal diet mission, I was stuck eating nothing but a measly little pile of shrimp and steamed broccoli. But looking at how painfully thin and fragile Natalie was, my heart ached a bit. I reached over and scooped a massive heap of rice right into her bowl. Take your time and eat up. If you are still hungry, we have plenty more. Thank you so much, Mrs. Wright, she whispered softly. After quietly polishing off every single grain of rice in her bowl, she immediately stood up and moved toward the sink to do the dishes. The second I saw that, I slapped my chopsticks down on the table and called out to our housekeeper in the kitchen. Nanny Wu, the dishes, please. Nanny Wu instantly hurried over, gently but firmly taking the dirty plates right out of Natalie's hands. Oh, Miss Vance, please, you can just leave all of this heavy lifting to me. Natalie opened her mouth, clearly wanting to protest, but before she could even get a word out, it was already too late. I grabbed her wrist and practically dragged her straight out to the backyard pool. She stood there staring wide-eyed at the water, which was literally just as massive as our entire school's swimming venue. Natalie looked totally dazed, completely blown away by the sheer scale of the place. By the time I threw on my swim trunks and walked back out, she was already holding out a strictly planned weight loss schedule for me. Here, this is for you. Crazy enough, during our short recess, She had actually sat down and customized a hyper-detailed routine completely tailored to my specific physical condition. I was genuinely blown away. Whoa, you threw this together that fast? I muttered, staring down at the insanely thorough weight loss chart in my hands. Right there on the paper, she had mapped out literally everything, exactly what I needed to eat every single day, exactly how much water I had to drink, and precisely how much exercise I needed to endure. Natalie looked at me with dead serious eyes. Weight loss absolutely cannot rely on just starving yourself. You ate way too little tonight. Normally, you should fill up on cucumbers and cherry tomatoes. Even things like winter melon and sweet corn are totally fine to eat. However, here is the catch. You absolutely cannot eat until you are completely stuffed each day. During this initial phase, you have to go to bed feeling just a tiny bit hungry every single night. I just nodded my head like a bobblehead, only half grasping what she actually meant. Catching the blank look in my eyes, Natalie paused, went totally quiet for a second, and then sighed. I will be right here to supervise you every single day, so honestly, you do not even need to understand it completely. Hearing that fierce dedication in her voice, a small grin tugged at my lips, and I firmly nodded my head. Meanwhile, back at the house, my parents were stealthily poking their heads out the window, watching Natalie strictly coach my swimming from the edge of the pool. The funny part? We practically had zero chatty interaction throughout the entire grueling process. My mom squinted, looking more than a little puzzled by the whole scene. What on earth is going on with those two? Are they seriously just out there to exercise? My dad was scratching his head in total disbelief. Wait, did our boy finally move on and find himself a new crush? Looks like he's totally over Chloe and falling hard for Natalie instead. My parents whispered back and forth, completely lost in their own little conspiracy theory. Noticing they were drawing awkward stares from both me and Natalie, I finally broke the surface of the pool. Mom? Dad? Seriously, what are you two doing hiding over there? Busted. Hearing my voice, they scrambled out from around the corner, looking guilty as sin. Oh, hey, your mom and I just brought you two a little fruit platter. You know, for a snack when you get tired from all that swimming? Yep, exactly. And hey, if swimming gets too boring, you kids can always hit the home gym on the second floor. We've got plenty of equipment up there, they chimed in, flashing the most awkward, forced smiles I had ever seen in my life. One look and I instantly knew their imaginations were running totally wild. Shaking my head, I climbed out of the water and grabbed the bowl from my mom. Thanks, Mom. Now, both of you, back inside. Show's over. Stop creeping. I gently shoved my parents toward the house until they finally took the hint. Turning back to Natalie, I tried to play it cool. Shall we keep going? I slipped back into the water, acting like it was no big deal. But honestly, I was dying of embarrassment inside. Sure enough, the second I came back up for air, I was met with Natalie's intense, unblinking gaze locked right onto mine. I let out a nervous chuckle, desperately trying to break the tension. Have some fruit. Seriously, eat some fruit. And with that, I dunked my head straight back underwater to hide. Natalie didn't utter a single word, but I caught the tips of her ears turning a bright, flustered shade of red. For the next 7 consecutive days, Natalie and I walked home together after the final bell. Surprisingly, we flew entirely under the radar. Why? Because the whole school was morbidly obsessed with the ongoing train wreck of Chloe and Tyler. Ever since their parents got dragged into the office that day, Chloe had gone scorched earth, sparking a massive, explosive war with her own family just to protect her precious Tyler. She even threatened to throw away her spot as the Vance family heir, a stunt that practically gave Mrs. Vance a stress-induced heart attack from pure, unadulterated fury. Even the school faculty threw their hands up, completely powerless to stop Chloe and Tyler's toxic little drama. But today was different. Just as I walked onto campus, a kid came sprinting down the hall, screaming his lungs out. Oh no, something bad just went down. Hearing that panic, my mind instantly snapped straight to the English teacher. 7 days had already passed. The glorious karma I'd been anticipating should have fully manifested by now. The rest of the school was totally clueless about the real story, but never ones to miss a good scandal. A massive stampede of students rushed straight toward the academic building. Piercing through the door of the staff office was the English teacher's shrill, frantic screaming. Mr. Wong, you better give me a damn good explanation right now. The homeroom teacher was backed into a corner, totally overwhelmed and helpless. Having zero clue what had triggered this total meltdown, he did the only thing he could. He sent a kid to drag Tyler in for questioning. The moment Tyler stepped foot in that office, the English teacher's furious, bloodshot eyes locked onto him like a sniper. "Tyler Evans, get over here right now." She physically yanked the boy in front of the homeroom teacher, launching a brutal interrogation. "What the hell did you slip into those chocolates?" Our English teacher used to have a pretty slender figure, but over the span of just one single week, her body shape had literally ballooned in size right in front of everyone's eyes. Tyler turned white as a ghost, stammering out, I don't know. I didn't do anything." Seeing his golden boy shaking like a leaf, the homeroom teacher immediately swooped in to play favorites. "Miss Liu, you gained all that weight on your own, so how can you blame my student? Why would my boy possibly drug you just to harm you?" She fired back. "I've been strictly dieting these past few days. Aside from eating one of his stupid chocolates every day, I've had nothing but plain tea. Tell me, how does a person just magically gain 15 pounds in one single week? I took those damn chocolates straight to a lab for testing. And the results? Someone pumped them full of hormones. Tyler, you've really outdone yourself, you little psycho." The massive crowd of eavesdropping students outside let out a collective gasp of pure shock. Hormones hidden inside chocolate? That was next-level terrifying. "But Tyler is such a kind-hearted guy," someone whispered. Why would he ever intentionally drug the English teacher? This was easily the most explosive, jaw-dropping gossip the students had ever tasted. Realizing the gravity of the accusation, the homeroom teacher's face turned grim and downright lethal. Staring at the hard proof on the lab report, he grabbed Tyler's arm with a violent yank. "Tyler, is this true? Did you actually do this?" Tyler's face drained of all color. He never in a million years imagined that a stupid box of chocolates could escalate things to such a severe, career-ending nightmare. "No, I swear it wasn't me. I didn't do it," he begged. The teacher wasn't having it. "You're still lying to my face? Drugging innocent people at your age? What kind of monster are you going to grow into? Call your parents right now and make them get down here this exact second." "Someone is going to pay heavily for this," the English teacher roared, physically dragging a sobbing Tyler toward the office phone. But right at that very second, Chloe burst through the crowd. "Stop! I was the one who put the drugs in the chocolates. It has absolutely nothing to do with Tyler." Literally, everyone with eyes knew she was just falling on the sword to save her precious Tyler. Chloe stormed forward, yanking him out of the teacher's grip and shielding him with a firm tug. "I told you I did the drugging. If you want to call someone's parents, dial mine," she shouted with twisted defiance. And just like that, the Vance family was dragged right back into this mess. When Mrs. Vance realized her own daughter was tanking her future for Tyler's sick mistake, her hatred for that boy hit rock bottom. But if they thought this disaster was finally over, they were dead wrong. The real chaos had only just begun. Despite Mrs. Vance begging until she was blue in the face, the English teacher refused to back down. They insisted on calling the cops and slapping Chloe with severe disciplinary action. Not only did she have to cough up $200,000 in compensation, but Chloe also got hit with a major demerit at the absolute worst possible time junior year. And what exactly did getting a major demerit mean in this cutthroat school? It meant Chloe could kiss her dreams of attending a top-tier university goodbye. Knowing that put me in a fantastic mood. Hell, I even had extra energy from my grueling workouts that day. It had been a little over 10 days since my rebirth, and I had already shed 20 pounds. Sure, I knew shedding the rest of the weight was only going to get tougher from here on out, but it was a killer start nonetheless. With final exams right around the corner, Class A was in absolute panic mode, and every single student was grinding harder than ever. Day in and day out, if they weren't relentlessly grinding through practice questions, they were burying their heads deep in textbooks, trying to memorize everything. But not Chloe. After that humiliating incident, it was like she had completely thrown in the towel. She started skipping classes every single day just to sneak off on dates with Tyler. Honestly, I couldn't care less. I was hiding out in the library, totally buried in intense study, when out of nowhere, someone violently kicked the chair right across from me. I furrowed my brows in sheer annoyance. When I looked up, big surprise, it was Chloe. I glared at her, letting my deep impatience show. "What the hell do you want?" I snapped. She sneered. You were the mastermind behind that whole chocolate incident last time, weren't you? And what makes you think I had anything to do with that? I challenged. Because other than Tyler, you were the only one who touched those chocolates. Are you really going to stand there and deny it? Then why the hell aren't you pointing fingers at Tyler instead of me? I shot back. Chloe stared me down with absolute, utter disdain. Because Tyler actually has a good heart, she spat. But you're completely twisted. How did I never see just how vicious you truly are? I just snapped my book shut, keeping my face dead calm and completely indifferent. Listen, if you actually have half a brain, go investigate it yourself. Go find the solid evidence. And if you can actually prove it was me, then step right up and expose me to the whole school. But if you don't have a shred of proof, then stop playing the righteous white knight in my face. It makes you look like a total moron. My words pushed her right over the edge. Furious, she slammed her hands on the table, shot up, and lunged forward to attack me. But in the blink of an eye, someone brutally pinned Chloe's arm down. This is a library. It is not your personal playground to throw a childish tantrum, a voice warned. Who the hell do you think you are? Get lost! Chloe shrieked, desperately trying to shake off Natalie. But no matter how hard she thrashed, she couldn't break free from Natalie's vice grip. As a library assistant, it is my sworn duty to maintain order in this room, Natalie stated coldly. Do I need to trigger the security alarm? Chloe glared daggers at Natalie, then whipped her head back to me. What is this? Did you two losers actually end up together? Ethan, you used to shamelessly chase after me like a pathetic little parasite, and now you instantly turn around and get with Natalie? The absolute second those toxic words left Chloe's mouth, Natalie's hand whipped through the air, delivering a sharp, stinging slap right across her face. Terrified that this was going to turn into a full-blown brawl, I shot up from my seat. Natalie, back down. Don't fight her. Hearing my voice, Natalie took a deep breath and regained her composure. She stared coldly down at Chloe, who had crumpled to the floor. Watch your filthy mouth, because if there's a next time, I swear I will literally rip it apart. Chloe was completely shell-shocked. She never imagined Natalie would actually have the guts to strike her. For a split second, sheer, unadulterated rage burned in Chloe's eyes. But just as she scrambled up to strike back, I stepped right in front of Natalie, shielding her completely. Chloe, back off. You're the one who started throwing unprovoked insults. You totally deserved that slap. If you start swinging now, you're the one crossing the line. Do you really want to drag yourself down and get yet another major demerit recorded on your file? She laughed bitterly. Then let them record another damn demerit. Like I even care about that garbage anymore. I shook my head. But don't forget, you get one more demerit, and you're officially expelled from this school. And if you're gone, what exactly happens to your precious Tyler? The very second Tyler's name dropped, Chloe's fist, which was practically trembling to hit someone, froze completely in midair. Seeing that I had masterfully struck her ultimate weak point, I grabbed Natalie by the arm and muttered, "Let's get the hell out of here. Come on, help me find a quieter place to study." And this time, Chloe didn't take a single step to block our path. Once we were safely out of Chloe's sight, I slumped into a random seat. Man, talk about insane bad luck, I sighed. Whatever. I'm going back to work. Natalie replied, her tone completely flat and indifferent. For some reason, I got the nagging feeling she was actually pretty upset, so I stepped a bit closer to comfort her. Hey. What Chloe spouted back there was just total, toxic nonsense. She has a really twisted mind. Please, don't take it to heart. I'm already used to it, she brushed off. Wait, you're a library assistant? I asked, surprised. Yeah. How come you've never mentioned it to me before? She shrugged. You never asked. Natalie started meticulously arranging books on the shelves, and I tagged right along behind her like a puppy. Listen, your academic grades are off the charts. You honestly should have been placed in Class A right from the start. Why did you get into that fight back then? She paused, her voice icy. I forgot. It was blatantly obvious from Natalie's guarded expression that she had zero intention of diving into that dark history. I let out a nervous, awkward chuckle, trying my absolute best to keep the vibe from turning painfully stiff between us. I watched Natalie working so tirelessly to stack those heavy books, and my mind drifted to just how miserable her life must be with the Vance family. After a moment of thought, I spoke up again. Hey, Natalie. I know you're an absolute genius when it comes to studying. Could you do me a massive favor? She glanced over. Just spit it out. I desperately need someone to tutor me in my schoolwork. Could you seriously help tutor me every single night from now on? I'll pay you whatever you want, right down to your hourly rate. How about $100 a session? Natalie just slowly raised her eyes to look at me. Every time you take an exam, your grades are always in the top 10 of the entire grade. There is zero need for you to get tutoring, she said flatly. Look, I've just been slacking off a lot lately, I replied. My practice test scores are an absolute train wreck right now, let alone hitting the top 10. Heck, I won't even be able to make it into the top 100. But hey, don't worry. As long as I can just pass this final exam smoothly, I will personally give you a $1,000 bonus. Just, please help me out here. Seeing that I clearly wasn't messing around, Natalie hesitated for a brief second. I quickly kept pushing. If it's way too much trouble for you right now, just tutor me on Saturdays and Sundays instead. Got it. Seeing Natalie finally cave and agree, a look of pure, unrestrained joy instantly lit up my face. It's a done deal. With an elite top student like Natalie actually helping me out, the next final exam was 100% in the bag. Just as I was getting pumped to go back and completely bury my head in some intense studying, Natalie suddenly bent over, coughing violently. Only then did it actually hit me. Natalie's complexion looked absolutely awful, totally drained of color from the intense, hacking coughs. Her face and neck were flushed, a dangerous, feverish red. No way. Natalie? Hey, Natalie! I instinctively reached out to check her burning forehead, but my hand was sharply slapped away by her reflexes. No need, she gasped. Just then, another library assistant came sprinting over, looking completely frantic. Natalie, I literally told you to just sit there and wait while I grabbed the medicine for you. Why on earth did you run off? Wait, medicine? What the heck happened to Natalie? I demanded. What else could it possibly be? She's running a terrible fever. Honestly, isn't it all just because you came home a few hours late these past few days? Those monsters actually locked you outside the house for the entire night. It would be an absolute miracle if you didn't catch a nasty fever after several freezing nights of that. Cheryl, stop! Natalie's sudden, sharp reprimand made Cheryl instantly snap her mouth shut. I froze in my tracks. During this entire past month, just to help me lose weight, Natalie was always stuck with me until 8 or 9 o'clock at night before heading home. My family's estate and the Vance house were a full 2 kilometers apart. Yet, she had always stubbornly insisted on walking back by herself, flat out refusing to let my family's private driver drop her off. I never, ever expected that Mrs. Vance would actually be so incredibly heartless as to lock Natalie out, not even letting her step foot inside her own house. Ethan, you fool. Oh man, Ethan, you really are a massive idiot. How did you completely fail to consider this happening? I mean, am I not just telling the honest truth here? Cheryl muttered. What are you getting so mad for? Cheryl handed the cold medicine over to Natalie, while her suspicious gaze shifted rapidly back and forth between the two of us. Clearly sensing that the heavy atmosphere between us felt a little too unusual, she cleared her throat. I'll go grab some water for you. You two just take your time chatting. Cheryl immediately spun around and bolted away right after saying that. Staring at Natalie's pale, sickly face, my heart clenched with deep worry. Auntie Vance actually treated you like that. So why? Why didn't you just tell me? This has absolutely nothing to do with you, she muttered. Are you kidding me? How could this possibly have nothing to do with me? I fired back. If it wasn't because I selfishly kept you around to help me lose weight, you never would have been kicked out into the cold by Auntie Vance. Ethan, this was my own choice, and you paid me fairly for it, she retorted. Long story short, my personal business has zero to do with you, and I certainly don't need you trying to look after me. Right after snapping that at me, she turned around and stumbled away. Looking at Natalie's fragile, departing back, a massive, crushing wave of guilt flooded my entire heart. I had so foolishly thought that by paying Natalie to help me train, I could not only build a really solid relationship with her, but secretly help improve her terrible living situation too. I never in a million years expected that this would only end up causing her far more pain and trouble. Later that evening, I finally returned home, Seeing that I was the only one walking through the door, my mother, who had carefully set out 5 sets of silverware, was totally taken aback. "Ethan, sweetie, how come you're all alone? Where's Natalie?" She's sick, Mom." "Sick? Oh my gosh. What happened? Did she get way too exhausted from pushing you during those crazy workouts?" "No. She's been tutoring me and training with me these past few days, so she's been heading back super late," I confessed heavily. "So, Auntie Vance literally locked her outside the front door all night, and that's exactly why she caught such a terrible fever." As soon as the words left my mouth, my father walked out from the living room, his face totally serious. "Mom, Dad, I really need to ask you guys for a huge favor." Hearing the raw desperation in my voice, my parents immediately exchanged a knowing glance. Meanwhile, as the night sky turned pitch black, Natalie dragged her heavy, aching body up to the grand entrance of the Vance estate. There, she ran right into Chloe and Mrs. Vance, who were lounging comfortably inside their sleek luxury car. It was painfully obvious that Mrs. Vance had just brought her precious Chloe back from getting checked out at the hospital. On Chloe's smug face, the ugly bruise from our little clash earlier today was still vividly, angrily visible. "Mom, look, Natalie is the one who violently beat me up." Mrs. Vance immediately shot a venomous glare at the sick girl. Well, aren't you just something else, Natalie Vance? I generously raise you out of the pure kindness of my own heart, only for you to viciously beat up my own flesh and blood. How can you be so absolutely evil? You are nothing but an ungrateful, filthy stray wolf that can never be tamed. Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson, Mrs. Vance snarled as she lunged forward, viciously pinching Natalie's bruised arm. You severely beat my daughter, and you still have the absolute nerve to show your face back here? Move it. You are following me straight to the police station right now. This little matter is far from over. Despite the fever, Natalie's brow furrowed in sheer defiance. She forcefully yanked her arm free from Mrs. Vance's iron grip, but that act of rebellion only earned her a brutal, stinging slap right across her flushed face. You have gone completely feral. You actually dare to raise a hand and fight back? Blood instantly welled up on Natalie's cheek, where Mrs. Vance's vicious claws had just struck, leaving deep, jagged scratches across her pale skin. Just as the tension reached its breaking point, blinding headlights pierced the darkness, putting all 3 of them dead center in the spotlight. My parents and I stepped out of our car, moving with purpose. A second later, 2 more sleek vehicles slammed on their brakes right beside us. The Wright family's elite bodyguards and high-powered lawyers poured out into the night. Mrs. Vance, who had never faced down a strike force like this in her life, stood frozen to the asphalt, her jaw practically hitting the floor. "Mr. Wright? Mrs. Wright? What are you guys doing here?" she stammered. My mom didn't even blink at her. She rushed straight over to catch a collapsing Natalie, snapping back, "Do not call us that." Seeing the raw, bloody marks on the poor girl's face, my mom's voice trembled with sheer fury. "Mrs. Vance, are you totally heartless?" The fake, sickening smile on the awful woman's face instantly shattered. "But Mr. Wright, Mrs. Wright," she stammered in a panic. "I only did it because this little brat dared to lay a hand on my sweet Chloe at school. I was just caught in the heat of the moment. I was merely teaching her a quick lesson." My mom glared daggers at the pathetic woman. "A quick lesson," she scoffed. "You locked Natalie out of your house before. You left a child to freeze in the dead of night. Was freezing her half to death also just you acting out in the heat of the moment? You are absolutely unfit to be a mother to Natalie. So, we'll be taking over her custody instead." Mrs. Vance gasped. "What? Are you crazy?" Before the wretched woman could even process the bombshell, our family lawyer stepped right up, shoving a thick stack of legal documents straight into her chest. "Mrs. Vance, your abusive actions are a severe criminal offense," the lawyer warned sharply. "If you don't want us dragging you through the mud in court, I highly advise you to sign her over to us quietly." Mrs. Vance stood there, totally dumbfounded, until Chloe tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, just let them take the loser. It saves us a bunch of grocery money anyway." Staring hard at the terrifying legal papers, Mrs. Vance proved she wasn't quite as brain-dead as her spoiled daughter. Her greedy gears started turning. "Hold on. What do I get out of this deal?" she demanded, eyes narrowing. "At the end of the day, she's still my husband's illegitimate bloodline. I'm not about to just hand over a family asset for absolutely nothing. There has to be a price, right? Hearing the absolute garbage spilling out of this woman's mouth, I couldn't hold back a dark, icy laugh. Classic Mrs. Vance, always trying to squeeze a quick buck out of every miserable situation. I saw my dad open his mouth, ready to just pay off the leech, so I swiftly cut in. Look, Auntie Vance, the brutal way you've been abusing Natalie? If word of this gets out to our high society circles, it's going to utterly destroy the Vance family's reputation. You'll lose everything, getting absolutely zero in return. We are literally throwing you a lifeline here, and you have the nerve to try and shake us down for cash? We aren't giving you a single dime. In fact, why don't we just take this straight to court? Let's head over to the cops right now. With your long history of child abuse, Auntie, I'm pretty sure you'll be looking at hard prison time. And you know what the best part is? When you're rotting in a cell, our Wright family is still going to adopt Natalie anyway. Hearing my cold, hard facts, Mrs. Vance's face instantly drained of all color. Mom, seriously, just sign it, Chloe whined. I am so sick of looking at her ugly face anyway. Mrs. Vance honestly felt the exact same way, but the sheer agony of letting a potential payday walk out the door for free was a terribly bitter pill to swallow. Watching her greedily hesitate, I decided to push her right over the edge. Mom, Dad, let's stop playing Mr. and Mrs. Nice Guy. We only offered a quiet deal out of respect for old times. But since she clearly wants to do things the hard way, let's just drive straight to the police precinct. We are done wasting our breath on this trash. Seeing me physically turn my back and march toward the car, Mrs. Vance totally cracked, bursting into an absolute panic. Wait, I'll sign it. I'll sign the damn papers. Sweating bullets, the horrible woman snatched the pen and scribbled her signature onto the contract, way too terrified to even read the fine print. Watching this satisfying victory unfold from a few steps away, a smug smirk crept right onto my face. Just take the little wretch, she huffed. But whatever you do not call the cops on me. My mom didn't even waste another breath on the lowlife. She gently held up a fragile Natalie, carefully guiding her into the warm back seat of our car. Looking closely, I saw that Natalie was completely burning up from a deadly fever, and that brutal slap from her tormentor had truly taken its toll. She was drifting in and out of consciousness, barely clinging to life. Panic rising in my chest, I urged, Mom, her fever is dangerously high. We have to rush her straight to the ER. You're right, straight to the hospital. Dad agreed instantly. Driver, step on it. Get us to the hospital right now. Deep into the night, sitting in the quiet chaos of the hospital ward, my parents rushed off to handle the messy admission paperwork. I stayed firmly behind, pulling up a chair to stand guard by Natalie's bedside. Her temperature had already skyrocketed to a terrifying 102 degrees. That monster's slap had been absolutely brutal. Natalie's delicate face wasn't just burning red and swollen, 3 deep, bloody gouges practically scarred her cheek. It took a frantic round of emergency treatment from the doctors before the swelling finally went down and she started looking halfway human again. Still trapped in her feverish, delirious nightmare, Natalie suddenly shot her arm out, desperately gripping my hand for dear life. My skin must have felt like a cool, comforting breeze, seemingly chasing away the burning hellfire trapped inside her fragile body. Then, without warning, Natalie snapped her eyes wide open. I completely jumped in my seat, totally caught off guard. Whoa, hey, you're awake? When Natalie stayed completely silent, I reached out and gently felt her forehead. She was still burning up with a brutal fever. Your fever is dangerously high, I told her softly. You are perfectly safe in the hospital now. My parents just went to handle all your admission paperwork. First thing tomorrow morning, we are going home. Catching the word home, a flicker of sorrow dimmed Natalie's eyes, so I quickly continued speaking. Back to my house, I clarified. You never, ever have to step foot in that toxic Vance house again. Hearing this, Natalie completely froze. It was obvious her mind was still totally clouded from the blazing fever, and her thoughts just weren't lucid enough to process the total nightmare that had gone down outside the Vance estate. She had absolutely no memory of the incident. Right at that moment, my parents walked into the hospital room. Seeing that Natalie was awake, my mom immediately rushed forward, her voice incredibly tender. Natalie, sweetheart, just rest up and heal here in the hospital. First thing tomorrow morning, your Uncle Wright and I will take you straight home. I have already requested a leave of absence from school for you, You can head back to your classes only when you are 100% recovered. Natalie's eyes instantly welled up with tears. Thank you, Auntie. My mom smiled warmly. It is nothing, sweetie. From this moment on, we are a real family. My mom gently stroked Natalie's hair. Mom, Dad, why don't you two head home first, I offered. I can handle staying the night with her. Tomorrow morning, I can just head straight to school from here. My mom looked at me, and then cast a worried glance back at a frail, exhausted Natalie. She clearly felt that leaving this poor girl all alone in a cold hospital room just did not sit right with her, so she quickly agreed to my plan. My dad still looked a little worried. How about I hire a professional caregiver for the night? No need, Dad, I replied. It is just for one single night. Just remember to have Uncle Leo pick us up tomorrow morning. Seeing how absolutely determined I was to protect her, my dad realized he could not win this debate, and finally gave in. Once my parents left, I turned back to comfort the fragile girl on the bed. Get some sleep. From now on, you are done breaking your back at part-time jobs. You will never have to skip a meal again, and nobody will ever kick you out onto the streets. Starting today, we are your true family. Wrapped in the soothing warmth of my words, Natalie let go of her anxiety and slowly drifted off to sleep. A tiny, soft smile tugged at her lips. For the first time in forever, she had a truly peaceful night of sleep. Bright and early the next morning, my dad sent the driver to pick Natalie up and bring her safely to our house. Since the central hospital was super close to Linning High School, I just decided to walk. But as my rotten luck would have it, Chloe decided to have the Vance family driver pick up Tyler on their way to campus today. The sickening sight of the two of them strolling together, fingers perfectly intertwined, burned right into my eyes. I honestly planned to just ignore them like they did not exist, but Tyler intentionally called out to me, "Ethan, why in the world are you walking to school today?" Still gripping Chloe's hand, he strutted over to me, absolutely soaking in the chance to show off. Man, walking all this way looks super exhausting for you. Anyway, since you probably won't live that far from us in the future, Chloe can just pick us both up on the way to school. Hard pass, I shot back coldly. My house and Chloe's house are absolutely not on the same path. I had zero interest in bickering with their petty drama, but right as I turned my back, Chloe snapped at me. "Ethan, Tyler is just trying to be nice to you. What is with your awful attitude? He can play nice all he wants, but I don't buy his garbage." Got it? Without missing a beat, I brushed straight past the two of them. Tyler's fake, victimized whine immediately echoed from behind me. I really was just trying to be a good guy. Did Ethan misunderstand my intentions? I should go after him and clear the air. Chloe stopped him, swooning. "You are Chloe Vance's boyfriend, Tyler. You do not need to explain yourself to a loser like him." "But I am the one who stole the girl Ethan loves," Tyler whimpered. "Oh, Tyler, you are just way too kind-hearted," Chloe cooed. "For a bitter, vicious guy like Ethan, you do not need to feel a single ounce of guilt." Listening to this absolutely nauseating exchange between the two of them, a wave of pure, unadulterated disgust washed over me. That was the final straw. I slammed the brakes on my footsteps, spun around, and marched straight back to them under the watchful eyes of the entire school crowd. I whipped the water bottle out of my backpack and splashed the icy water dead into Tyler's smug face. Seeing her precious boy get completely drenched, Chloe shrieked in absolute fury. "Ethan, what the hell do you think you are doing?" I just gave him a ruthless smirk. "There. Now you don't have to feel guilty anymore." Leaving them totally stunned, I turned around and walked away. Chloe looked ready to absolutely murder me on the spot, but the campus security guard conveniently stepped out of the gate right at that perfect moment. The epic scene of me splashing Tyler in front of the front gate instantly went viral as the absolute juiciest gossip throughout the school. All day long, even my own classmates kept shooting me these totally weird, wide-eyed stares from across the classroom. But honestly, with our intense final exams creeping up fast, nobody had the guts to actually start any real drama. The junior year grind was already soul-crushing as it was, so my legendary water splash was ultimately just treated as premium entertainment for recess. With only 3 days left before finals, the academic tension in our classroom during lunch break was thick enough to cut with a knife. Meanwhile, ever since Natalie moved into the White family mansion, her mental health had made a massive, beautiful comeback. Her focus was razor sharp, and her academic performance on the monthly mock exams completely blew everyone out of the water. Before all the abuse, Natalie was always a solid top 5 student, but now, she was completely untouchable, sitting firmly on the throne as the absolute number 1 in our grade. Thanks to Natalie having my back, my grades finally locked securely into the top 10. But the real drama happening right now? The wild rumors about the mighty Vance family spreading through the classroom like wildfire? The explosive news that the Vance family was standing right on the terrifying edge of total bankruptcy could no longer be hidden. Dude, have you guys heard? The Vances are about to go completely bankrupt. Man, you're talking straight nonsense, right? How could a massive empire like the Vance family possibly go broke? The Vance family is literally royalty here in Linen. But it's actually true. I heard my old man say that right before Chloe's dad passed away, he racked up a massive mountain of outside debt. The Vance family business has been bleeding out and struggling for months, so they actually ran completely out of cash a long, long time ago. Right at that very moment, Tyler happened to confidently strut right into the classroom, clueless as ever. Lately, he and Chloe had been constantly sneaking out of the school gates together. Skipping class to go on romantic dates had basically become their daily routine. Yo! Seeing Tyler walk in, Kevin practically sprinted over to spill the gossip. Tyler, did you know your girl's family is about to go totally bankrupt? Bankrupt? Stop playing around. Chloe literally just took me to a high-end dealership to look at cars. She promised that the second I turn 18 next year, she's going to buy me a brand new Mercedes. If they were really about to go bankrupt, could she just casually drop a luxury car on me like it's nothing? Yeah, that's what I thought. Right? How could a massive powerhouse like the Vances just vanish overnight? The crowd immediately went back to casting incredibly envious glances at Tyler. Once they heard that Chloe was buying him a fancy ride, they swarmed him like bees. My ears felt like they couldn't get a single second of peace. So, I grabbed my test papers and walked straight out the classroom door. Behind my back, the whispers shifted. Hey, Ethan's been getting picked up and dropped off in crazy luxury cars lately. Seriously, I have zero idea where he's getting the cash to roll up in a different high-end ride every single day. Wait, isn't he our designated low-income charity case? Could it be that his family is actually filthy rich undercover? Probably not. But if Ethan isn't the broke kid, then who actually is the low-income student in our grade? Hearing the crowd start digging, Tyler was absolutely terrified they would expose him. He forced a fake, calm smile and spoke up. I heard Ethan's dad is just a driver for some wealthy family. Lately, his dad's rich boss went out of town on a business trip, which is the only reason he gets to joyride in those luxury cars. Oh, duh. That makes perfect sense. I was wondering why Ethan used to walk to school and suddenly started showing up in fleets of fancy cars. Turns out his dad is just taking the boss's rides out for a spin to pick up his kid. Wow. And here I was thinking Ethan was some undercover billionaire. Turns out, it was all just a pathetic, fake act. Watching the other students smugly turn their noses up at me, Tyler secretly felt a deep wave of panic inside. I absolutely cannot let anyone find out that I am the actual, only low-income student in the entire junior year. If they find out, the flawless rich kid image I've killed myself to build at this school will be completely destroyed. Meanwhile, totally unfazed by the drama, I was sitting on the floor in the reading corner, intensely grinding away at my practice questions. Suddenly, a cold carton of milk appeared right in front of my face. I looked up and realized the person standing there was Natalie. Mrs. Wright asked me to bring this to you, she said softly. I took the milk, totally confused. Wait, when did my mom give this to you? How did I not even know about this? Ever since Natalie moved into my house, we went to and from school together, side by side, every single day. I clearly remembered that we walked out the front door together this morning. There was zero chance my mom somehow slipped her this milk. It hit me instantly. Natalie had bought this for me using her own hard-earned allowance. I hadn't eaten lunch at all, and my stomach was practically roaring by this point. I stared at the carton of milk, feeling a bit conflicted. I'm kind of on a strict diet. Is chugging milk for lunch really a good idea? It's skim milk. It's totally fine to drink, she replied. Hearing that, I didn't hesitate for a second and jammed the straw right into the carton. That sweet, creamy taste hit the spot and made me feel deeply satisfied. Natalie, your grades are seriously amazing. Why are you stuck down in Class F? If you were up in Class A, the two of us could actually study together. Instead of answering right away, Natalie fell completely silent for a heavy moment during the recess chatter. "Do you really want me to come to Class A?" she finally asked. I nodded eagerly, slurping my milk. "Of course I do." But she just stayed quiet. Seeing her shut down, I figured she didn't want to come back and deal with Chloe's toxic drama. I quickly backpedaled. "Hey, I was just thinking out loud. If you don't want to go back to Class A, you really don't have to." She looked right at me. "I'll try my best." I blinked, completely caught off guard. "I'll try my absolute best to find a way back into Class A." My eyes widened. "Wait. Really?" She smiled slightly. "Yeah, really." But before I could even celebrate, the piercing bell signaling the end of lunch break echoed through the halls. Natalie neatly packed up my books and gave me a warm smile. "Class is starting. Get back in there and crush those practice questions," she said. I nodded, feeling totally pumped. By the time I walked back into the classroom, Tyler was right back at it, loudly bragging to the crowd about whatever ridiculously expensive gift Chloe had bought for him. When Tyler's eyes locked onto mine, he shot me a glaring, arrogant look of pure provocation. I just ignored him. Let him be as smug as he wants right now. Because soon enough, he was going to deeply regret every single second of this. Tyler had thrown his entire life into dating Chloe. For a whole month, he hadn't touched a single book. It wasn't obvious right now, but once those final exams hit, Tyler was going to realize just how violently he had crashed and burned in his coursework. The payback I'd been waiting for was finally here. 3 days flew by in an absolute blur, and just like that, final exams arrived. Thanks to my scores on the last monthly test, I was assigned to the exact same exam hall as Natalie, Chloe, and of course, Tyler. Sure, this test was a whole lot tougher than the previous ones, but for me, it was a total breeze. I cruised through the questions and slammed my pencil down 20 minutes early. Tyler, on the other hand, was sweating bullets. When the bell finally rang, the guy looked like he had just seen a ghost. His face was dead pale. Before all this, Tyler played the role of the untouchable class heartthrob. His grades were always sky high, and practically everyone in school bent over backward just to be friends with him. So naturally, right after the test, the usual crowd swarmed his desk, eager to compare their answers with the golden boy. On any other ordinary day, he would soak up the attention and patiently walk them through the questions. But this time, he abruptly jumped out of his seat. I don't feel so good," he stammered. "I need to hit the restroom." Seeing her crush panic, Chloe rushed forward, her voice dripping with worry as she asked if he was okay. Watching him squirm, a smug smirk crept onto my face. I knew my guess was dead on the money. Tyler had totally bombed that final exam. 3 days later, the moment of truth arrived. The school finally announced the official results. Natalie absolutely crushed it, shooting straight up to take first place in the entire grade. And thanks to her killer tutoring, I proudly claimed the third place spot. But Tyler, our so-called golden boy, who always hovered near the very top, took a massive nosedive. He plummeted way past the top 50, and dragging right down with him was Chloe, whose rank had completely slipped back to 20th place. Up at the podium, our homeroom teacher locked eyes with Tyler, her voice dropping a few icy degrees. "Tyler Evans, do not leave at noon. I need your parents here in my office immediately." Hearing that, the last bit of color drained from his face. "But, teacher," he stuttered, his voice trembling. "My dad is insanely busy. He definitely won't have time to come all the way down here. Then what about your mother?" The second the teacher mentioned his mom, Tyler looked like he was about to throw up. He just stood there, completely frozen. The rest of the class was totally clueless, but I knew his dirty little secret. His parents had gone through a messy divorce a really long time ago. It was just him and his dad, a single father, busting his back to raise Tyler all on his own. But in front of all his adoring classmates and teachers, there was absolutely zero chance Tyler was going to admit his family was broken. Seeing him stand there like a deer in headlights, the teacher let out a frustrated sigh. "Tyler, your grades have completely tanked. This is serious, and your guardian needs to step up and take some responsibility for this mess. I don't care how busy your parent is. They need to be here at noon, period." With that final blow, she turned right back to assigning our summer homework. totally shutting him down and leaving him no room to worm his way out of it. The mere thought of his dad, a blue-collar driver, showing up at school was eating Tyler alive. You could practically smell the panic rolling off him. If the class found out he was secretly the only low-income scholarship kid in the entire junior year, his whole pathetic act would crumble. Plus, the nasty way he framed me, that would be completely dragged into the light. When the noon bell rang, everyone else hurriedly stuffed their backpacks, ready to sprint out the door and kick off their summer vacation. But Kevin and his annoying crew stuck around. Chloe was practically glued to Tyler's side, hovering like a hawk, which was only making him sweat even more. See, Tyler had secretly texted his dad to show up at 12:30 on the dot. He timed it perfectly, hoping Chloe and the rest of his little fan club would be long gone, keeping his dad's real identity safely buried in the dark. But his brilliant plan backfired. Chloe was way too worried about her precious Tyler, stubbornly refusing to leave until the teacher finished ripping him a new one. And Kevin's clueless squad? They had the exact same bright idea. They all wanted to stay back and hold his hand through the drama, but they were total idiots. Tyler didn't want their comfort right now. He desperately needed them to get the hell out of the classroom as fast as humanly possible. If they stayed, his massive, carefully crafted lie was going to blow up right in his face. Meanwhile, I was having the time of my life. I sluggishly packed up my practice booklets, milking every single second of the tension. Natalie, who had been waiting outside, peeked in and noticed only Chloe's pathetic crew was left. With a knowing smile, she strolled right back into the room. She walked up and reached out to help me zip up my backpack. But instead of leaving, I gently pinned her hand down and shot her a sharp, meaningful look. After all the time we recently spent together at the White House, Natalie instantly read my mind. Without missing a beat, she pulled up a chair and casually sat right back down beside me. "Hey, didn't you mention you were struggling with one of the math problems today?" she asked smoothly. "Let's go over it right now." Honestly, I was just racking my brain for an excuse to stay in this room and watch Tyler's world burn. Since Natalie handed me the absolute perfect cover story, I quickly yanked out a booklet and pointed at a completely random equation. "Yeah, it's this one right here," I said. She took the textbook, flipping through it with agonizing, hilarious slowness. Just a few desks away, Tyler was practically hyperventilating. It was bad enough that his annoying lackeys, Chloe and Kevin, were still lingering around like stray dogs. But seeing me and Natalie staying behind too, it was pushing him over the edge. He kept darting his eyes toward the classroom clock. It was already ticking past 12:30. Finally, his nerves snapped. He couldn't hold it in for another second. "Chloe, Kevin, just go. You guys need to head home first," he snapped, his voice cracking with pure desperation. "I can handle this on my own." But Chloe just shook her head stubbornly. "No way, Tyler. I am staying right here by your side no matter what. If that old hag, Miss Lee, dares to mess with you, I swear I won't let her hear the end of it." "Yeah, Tyler, we're all right here. Don't sweat it. Your grades just dropped a tiny bit, that's all. Is it really worth dragging your parents in for that?" Seeing that Kevin and his crew were not budging, Tyler could only try to coax Chloe first. "Chloe, you should probably head out first. My dad is totally against me dating this early. I'm worried that if he sees you, he'll blow up." "All right then. Just remember to text me once you get home." Tyler nodded frantically. Right then, he wanted nothing more than for Chloe to just leave immediately. Before taking off, Chloe anxiously told Kevin and the guys to make sure they took good care of Tyler. Seeing how deeply Chloe cared for him, Kevin and the other guys looked absolutely green with envy. Meanwhile, Kevin noticed me quietly solving practice problems up front. Acting like I hadn't heard a thing, he deliberately raised his voice. "Man, Miss Vance is seriously so good to our Tyler. I heard she's already planning out a whole proposal. Tyler, your Evans family runs a massive enterprise. I bet you two will get engaged right after graduation, won't you?" I don't really know about that." "Come on. How could you not know? I heard that for kids from top-tier families, a ton of them get engaged right out of high school. They just wait until they hit the legal age to tie the knot." "Tyler, Miss Vance loves you so much. She definitely wouldn't have the heart to let you study abroad all by yourself. Maybe the Vance family really will be the first to propose to the Evans family." "Exactly. Our Tyler is handsome and has a great personality. Plus, he is the young master of the Evans group. He and Miss Vance are an absolute match made in heaven. How could she ever bear to let our Tyler go overseas to study alone? She will definitely tag along with you when the time comes." Looking at the eager faces all around him, Tyler actually seemed to picture a future where he married into absolute wealth. Hearing all this garbage, I couldn't help but let out a cold, bitter laugh in my heart. 3 years after high school graduation, at our high school reunion, Tyler had already come back from studying abroad, having hooked up with a filthy rich foreign woman. The two of them got engaged in an absolute flash. Chloe was there that night too. When she heard the news of Tyler's engagement, Chloe did not give a single damn about my dignity as her husband. Her eyes went totally red right then and there, and she even chased Tyler outside, begging to speak with him alone, and at that time, I was already her husband. Because of what Chloe did, I was turned into an absolute laughingstock in front of our entire class. Later on, the Vance family business skyrocketed, and Chloe became one of the top powerhouse CEOs in Lynch. It was right around then that Tyler's wife suffered a massive business failure and committed suicide by jumping off a building. Only then did that bastard return to the country to rekindle his old flame with Chloe. And Chloe, just so she could divorce me without a hitch, she locked me away in a mental asylum. Thinking back on all the absolute hell of my past life, the pencil in my hand suddenly snapped in two. Natalie noticed my dark expression, but she stayed completely silent. However, the sharp crack caught the attention of Kevin and his crew. Haha, looks like someone is getting a little too jealous to keep listening. Our Tyler was just born for wealth and honor. Ethan, don't be so bitter. If you manage to be born into a rich family in your next life, maybe Miss Vance will finally take a liking to you. The crowd around him didn't even try to hide their relentless mockery toward me. But Natalie wasn't having it. She stood right up, marched over to Kevin, and delivered a heavy, brutal kick straight to his desk. The loudmouths who were just laughing it up instantly shut their mouths, terrified to say another word. Right at that tense moment, a middle-aged man's voice echoed from outside the classroom. "Excuse me, is this class 1? The man who walked in looked to be around 40 years old. He had a decent build, but looked heavily weathered by life, with quite a few strands of gray hair. He was wearing a simple driver's uniform. The sneakers on his feet were visibly worn out, and his hands looked exceptionally rough and calloused. If I was guessing right, the exhausted man standing right in front of us was Tyler's real father. Tyler completely froze. He never expected his dad to show up so quickly. Before he could even think of a lie to spin, Kevin chimed in with a confused look. Who are you?" The rest of the classmates immediately started sizing up Tyler's dad with judging eyes. Tyler's dad gave an honest, gentle smile and started to speak. "I am he, is our family's driver." Tyler blurted it out in a total panic. He anxiously rushed over to his dad's side, and under his father's completely bewildered gaze, he forced out a lie. "My dad is super busy and didn't have time, so he sent our family driver over." "Oh, so it is the Evans family's driver." "I was just thinking that Mr. Evans wouldn't dress like this. Makes perfect sense. Tyler's dad is the CEO of the Evans Group, after all. He deals with a million massive issues every single day. How could he possibly find the time to come down to a school?" Kevin and the other classmates chimed in one after another, completely buying the act, while Tyler forced an incredibly awkward, strained smile. Meanwhile, it finally clicked for Tyler's dad. He realized his own flesh and blood was putting on a massive show in front of his classmates, pretending to be some filthy rich heir. He gave Tyler a sharp tug. "Tyler, how can you shut your mouth? Who gave you permission to use my name? You are nothing but our family's driver. If you ever dare to disrespect me like that again, I will have you tossed right out of our mansion." "Yeah, exactly. He's just a lowly chauffeur. How dare he put his hands on the boss's son? Dude seriously doesn't know his place." Hearing that, Tyler's dad looked absolutely crushed and deeply humiliated. Meanwhile, Tyler was sweating bullets. He was terrified that if they stayed even a second longer, his dad would blow his cover and expose him for the fake he was. He quickly shoved his dad down the hall, hissing, "The teacher is waiting for you in the office, so why don't you hurry up and go see her?" Seeing the pure panic in his son's eyes, Tyler's dad understood. His kid was terrified. His shiny, rich boy facade was about to crumble in front of everyone. Even though he was utterly disgusted by Tyler's ridiculous lies, he swallowed his pride. Just to give his son a slightly easier life at school, he just bowed his head, gave a quiet nod, and walked away. Seeing this, Kevin scoffed with obvious annoyance. "Tyler, your family's driver seriously has zero manners. He must think he can pull rank just because he's been working for your dad for a long time. Hearing his classmates trash his own flesh and blood with such pure disgust, Tyler could only force a painfully awkward smile. Meanwhile, I was sitting right there, pretending to work on some math problems, but a massive, gossip-loving smirk was creeping across my face. "What exactly are you smirking at?" Kevin snapped. "Oh, nothing. It's just really entertaining." "How is any of this entertaining? You wouldn't get it right now, but trust me, you will very soon." Watching Tyler practically sweat to death over his fake identity was priceless. I felt this deep, incredible wave of satisfaction wash over me. I really wondered how Tyler was ever going to clean up this absolute disaster. When his massive, pathetic lie finally blew up in his face, it was going to be epic. Half an hour slowly ticked by. Looking furious, Tyler's dad stormed out of the office. The second, Tyler saw the sheer rage on his dad's face, all the color drained from his own. But since Kevin and the whole squad were still hovering right there, Tyler had to swallow his panic. He forced himself to look cool as he strutted up to his dad. "Everything is sorted out, right? If you're done getting the lecture, hurry up and get out of here." At this point, he was beyond desperate to drag his dad away. But out of nowhere, Kevin decided to play the hero and stepped right up to the man. "Hey, Uncle Driver, our boy Tyler just had a bad day on this one exam. That is literally it. When you report back to the boss, you know exactly what to say, right?" Tyler's dad just stared in stunned silence. Thinking the driver was being ungrateful, Kevin instantly doubled down. "Listen, Miss Vance strictly ordered us to take good care of Tyler. If you dare breathe a word of this to his dad, forget about us. Even Miss Vance will make sure you regret it." Kevin genuinely thought he was dropping a massive threat. Sitting in my seat, I bit my lip so hard I almost burst out, laughing right there. This was absolutely poetic. Not only were his grades completely tanking, and his poor dad dragged in for a scolding, but now his little secret dating scandal was getting exposed right to his dad's face. Choking on his own misery, Tyler frantically shoved his dad toward the exit. "All right, I am in a major rush to get home, so hurry up and go bring the car around back." By now, Tyler's dad was trembling, fighting to hold back a volcanic eruption of rage. He violently shoved Tyler back, raised his hand, and delivered a blistering slap right across his cheek. The strike was so brutal, half of Tyler's face instantly swelled red. Kevin completely lost it. "Are you insane, man? Tyler is the young master of the house, and you are literally just a chauffeur. Who the hell gave you the nerve to hit him?" the dad roared. "On the grounds that I am his, enough." In a state of absolute panic, Tyler swung wildly and slapped his own dad right back. The blow caught the older man completely off guard, sending him stumbling back several feet in pure shock. Tyler raised his chin, trying to look arrogant, though his voice was laced with frantic threats. "This is a school. How dare you lay a hand on me in front of all my classmates? I know my dad gave you some authority to discipline me, but you are nothing more than our driver. Do not ever think you actually have the right to teach me a lesson. Now why haven't you hurried up and gone to bring the car around? Do you really want to stand here and make our family a complete laughingstock?" Every single desperate word from Tyler was a coded warning to his dad. They were at school, and surrounded by his gullible audience. Catching the hint, even though he was burning with furious indignation, his dad could only throw his hands up in defeat and angrily storm away. Still inside the classroom, I craned my neck as far as it would go, dying to see the rest of the drama unfold in the hallway. Natalie, however, was already busy packing all of my practice test booklets right into my backpack. By the time I snapped back to reality, I realized my desk had already been cleared off, neat and perfectly tidy. Natalie gave my head a gentle tap. "You've watched enough drama for one day. Come on, let's go home." The two of us walked out of the classroom side by side. And just like that, summer break officially began. Knowing I needed the push, Natalie took the time to specially formulate a brutal but perfect summer study schedule just for me. 2 grueling months of pure grit, and I had finally shredded the weight, dropping all the way down to a lean 130 pounds. Summer break? Oh, it was the absolute perfect time for my ultimate comeback sprint. By August, with the clock ticking down on our sweet summer freedom, our dead class group chat suddenly blew up out of nowhere. I scrolled through the notifications and spotted Tyler, playing the generous host, eagerly inviting the whole squad to a fancy summer resort villa to beat the blistering heat. A free trip to a luxury resort? Of course, Everyone instantly took the bait, losing their minds with excitement. But when I read his little announcement, a dark, knowing smirk crept onto my face. It was so obvious. Tyler was absolutely terrified that the humiliating stunt his dad pulled at school last time had blown his cover, making everyone doubt his fake rich kid persona. So, he was desperately fishing for a golden opportunity to flex, trying to prove to the world that he was actually some elite, wealthy young master. And I had to admit, the guy was sneaky. His wording in the text was masterfully manipulative. He casually dropped that he was hosting a getaway at a summer resort villa, carefully leaving out any actual claim that his family owned the place. It was a slick move to dodge any incoming backlash if the truth came out later. Amused, I hopped out of bed and jogged straight over to Natalie's room right next door. Skipping the knock, I nudged the door open to find her chilling by the window, totally unbothered and lost in a book. I threw out the invitation with a huge, teasing grin. But the exact second Tyler's name left my lips, the warm smile on her face vanished, turning instantly ice cold. "Hard pass," she shot back. "Seriously? You're not going?" I coaxed. "Come on, there's going to be a hilarious show to watch." She didn't even look up. "I'm not officially in Class A yet, so no thanks. You go have your fun. Just watch your back out there." Seeing that she was completely dead set against going, I decided to drop it. But right as I pivoted to walk out, her voice stopped me. "Wait. Give me the address." I smirked. "Oh? Changed your mind?" "In your dreams," she sighed. "Just in case things drag on too late, it'll be way easier to send Uncle Leo to come drag you home." Hearing that, I just nodded. "All right, fair enough." I honestly wanted to drag her along for a front row seat to the upcoming circus act, but man, she really couldn't care less. Well, whatever. If she was sitting this one out, I just have to enjoy this spectacular train wreck all by my damn self. Before I knew it, the day after tomorrow rolled around. The so-called summer resort villa was tucked away high up in the mountains, miles outside the city limits. They hyped it up as a resort, but honestly, it was just a ridiculously oversized mansion wrapped around a massive, sprawling courtyard. By the time I rolled up, the rest of my clueless classmates were already there, buzzing with excitement. Tyler was parading around in expensive-looking loungewear, playing the part of the seasoned master of the house as he ushered everyone inside. "Come on in, guys. Seriously, make yourselves at home." "No need to be shy," he boasted. Kevin and his little crew were totally starstruck, setting foot in a place this massive for the very first time. For a solid minute, their jaws were just glued to the floor, totally at a loss for words. "Dude. Tyler. Your house is freaking enormous, right? Tyler, do you seriously not live here full-time? This place is insanely luxurious." The crowd practically fell over themselves, gasping in total awe. Sure, a decent chunk of kids in Class A came from serious money, but they were used to cushy high-rises or cozy little suburban homes at most. Stacked against the sheer wealth of the Evans family, they looked like absolute peasants. Tyler just soaked it all in, flashing a smug, silent smile, letting their imaginations do the work. "Hey, wait a second, Tyler. Where's Chloe? Why didn't Miss Vance ride up here with you?" Tyler casually slid his hands into his pockets, looking far too pleased with himself. "Oh, Chloe's on her way. She'll be here any minute. Let's just kick things off first," he said smoothly. "Wait, is this everyone?" "I swear we're down a guy." Someone snickered. "It's Ethan, isn't it? The loser hasn't shown his face yet." Man, Ethan got Tyler and Chloe's parents dragged into school over that dating rumor. He's probably too humiliated to ever show his face in public again, right? "I don't know about that," another mocked. "The dude's been obsessing over Miss Vance for 2 pathetic years. You think he'd let slip a chance to creep on her?" The room erupted into loud, mocking laughter at my expense. But right on cue, the heavy courtyard doorbell echoed through the chatter. Kevin, ever the eager lapdog, shot up instantly. "Oh, that's gotta be Chloe. I got the door." He practically sprinted to swing the heavy doors wide open, fully expecting the school's princess. Instead, he found himself staring down a breathtakingly handsome guy radiating pure, undeniable confidence. Kevin froze, his brain totally short-circuiting. Who the hell are you?" I smirked. "I'm Ethan." The second the name Ethan dropped, Tyler's head snapped up, and he marched over. "Kevin, Dude, what's taking so damn long? Tyler barked. He paraded Kevin around as his best bro, but deep down, he was paranoid his own shadow would steal his girl. But the moment Tyler stepped up to the doorway, his eyes locked onto my completely transformed, wildly attractive face. He stopped dead in his tracks, looking like he'd just seen a ghost. His brain simply couldn't process the absolute unit standing in front of him. So I gladly took the initiative to speak. What's wrong, Tyler? Forgotten about me already? I sneered, staring at the new me, the cocky, arrogant smile on his face shattered into a stiff, awkward grimace. I casually peered past his shoulder into the sprawling house. Well, am I not invited to the little party? When neither Tyler nor his speechless sidekick could scrape together a single word, I just brushed past them, dragging my suitcase right through the front door. By the time those two clowns rebooted their brains, I was already commanding the living room. Just seconds ago, the girls in our class had been giggling and gossiping without a care in the world. But the instant they looked up and caught sight of a jaw-droppingly gorgeous guy strolling in with his luggage, the room went dead silent. Half of them literally dropped their jaws in absolute shock. You could practically hear the gears turning in their heads. Since when did our class hide a guy looking like a total supermodel? Panic-stricken, Tyler scrambled in right behind me. Ethan, what the? Hearing Tyler scream the name at the absolute masterpiece standing before them, the crowd lost it. Wait, that's Ethan? Someone gasped, utterly mind-blown. Wait, you're telling me this guy is Ethan? Is this some kind of sick joke? There is no way in hell that's him. At first, my classmates didn't buy it for a single second. But as they leaned in, squinting and overanalyzing my face, they slowly realized the bone structure was a dead match for the old, heavy me. Holy crap, it really is Ethan. Jaws literally dropped as the shock of my insane weight loss transformation rippled through the room. But while everyone else was completely losing their minds, Tyler stood there looking like he had just swallowed a lemon. The guy was absolutely losing his mind. He never in a million years expected that I could drop all that dead weight over one single summer break. He was probably panicking, thinking, if Chloe sees him looking like this, is she going to totally fall for him? I just smiled and waved. Long time no see, guys. My folks just got back from a major business trip overseas, so I made sure to grab some cool little souvenirs for all of you. I really hope you guys like them. The second I unzipped my massive suitcase, it was game over. The bag was absolutely overflowing with imported luxury watches, top-tier electronics, and totally gorgeous designer jewelry. The moment they locked eyes on that insane treasure trove, the entire class swarmed me like a pack of absolute wild animals. Oh my God, these are straight-up luxury designer watches. Ethan, where the heck did your parents even go for this trip? Wait, isn't this bracelet a super rare limited edition? I heard these cost an absolute fortune. And bro, this gaming console goes for thousands of dollars. In completely record time, everyone forgot that today was actually supposed to be Tyler's big flashy party. They were too busy drooling over a suitcase packed with over $100,000 worth of swag. Tyler's face turned an ugly shade of purple. I smirked, glancing right over at him and his little lackey, Kevin. Tyler! Kevin! Come on over and grab something for yourselves, too. I knew for a fact that when Kevin first saw the haul, his greedy little eyes had literally lit up like fireworks. But catching himself, he suddenly remembered the absolute garbage Tyler had been feeding everyone earlier. Tyler had told them, his dad is just some broke driver. His family is poor as dirt. How the hell could he afford luxury gifts from one single trip? So, Kevin sneered, crossing his arms with total disgust. What's there to even pick from? I bet they're all just high-quality, cheap knockoffs anyway. But instantly, a classmate snapped back. Kevin, Ethan is just being super generous. What kind of toxic garbage are you spewing? Any idiot can tell this is totally genuine just by looking at it. There is no way these are fakes. It even has the authentic foreign tags and the official security holograms. Kevin, if you're too bitter to take one, then just shut up and stop slandering him. Money talks, and everyone flips sides in a heartbeat. Getting completely roasted by the class left Kevin stumbling and second-guessing himself. Meanwhile, I just casually kicked back on the leather sofa, crossing my legs as I watched the vultures happily fight over my gifts. Noticing Tyler awkwardly shifting on his feet, refusing to step up, I hit him with a warm, totally fake smile. So, Tyler, Does this crazy summer resort villa actually belong to your family? It is absolutely massive. That innocent little question was a perfectly laid trap, and Tyler was suddenly caught completely in the headlights, sweating bullets. Why? Because this luxurious mansion wasn't his at all. It was just a vacation home that his dad's wealthy employers barely even remembered they owned. The only reason this fraud even had the keys was because the real owners flew out of the country for a trip, and he had begged his driver dad to sweet-talk the nanny into letting him borrow the place. In an instant, the chatter died down, and every single pair of eyes in the room locked completely onto Tyler. Realizing I had just effortlessly dropped a small fortune on random party favors to assert dominance, Tyler swallowed his pride, forced a fake smirk, and lied through his teeth. Yeah, it's my family's place. I leaned forward. Oh? But for a mansion this ridiculously huge, how come there isn't a single maid around? Boom! My follow-up strike left Tyler totally speechless, his brain short-circuiting. Scamming his way into the house was already a miracle on its own. Where the hell was a fake rich kid going to find a hired staff to complete the illusion? Even the other classmates started looking around, suspicious. Wait, yeah, Tyler, someone chimed in. Not only is there no maid, but there isn't even a single security guard watching a massive estate like this. Panic flashed in his eyes before Tyler pulled a desperate excuse out of thin air. Ah, well that's because I knew you guys were coming over to party, so I just gave the staff the day off. I didn't want a bunch of random workers walking around and ruining our whole vibe, right? Seeing the rat wriggle his way out of the trap, I purposely put on a sad, super disappointed face. Oh man. But we're all absolutely starving right now. Well, if there's no private chef here to cook for us, naturally, I'll just step up and cook a massive feast for you guys myself. Tyler puffed out his chest, totally arrogant and overly confident in his cooking skills. Seeing the crowd cheer him on, I didn't miss a single beat. I grinned brightly. Wait, the great Tyler is going to cook for us personally? That is just totally awesome. I mean, I've heard that crazy rich tycoons like your family eat prime sea cucumber and abalone every single day. Oh, and imported Wagyu beef and foie gras. I have been absolutely dying to taste high-class ingredients like that for my entire life, Tyler. We drove all the way out here to your private resort, so you obviously prepped all that ultra-luxurious food for us, right? Sea cucumber, abalone, Wagyu beef, foie gras. Where on God's green earth was this broke liar going to magically spawn ingredients like that? But before Tyler could even stutter out a single word, the rest of the class instantly started hyping him up. Yeah, Tyler. Ethan already hooked us up with so many amazing designer gifts. We really want to feast on all those crazy delicacies, too. You wouldn't be cheap with your best friends, would you, man? What kind of crazy talk is that? Another girl squealed. Our Tyler is the rich young master of the Evans Empire. It's just one tiny little meal to him. How could he possibly cheap out on us? It's not like top-tier Wagyu is some rare, impossible commodity to you, right, Tyler? Hearing his own trap snap shut on his leg, all the color completely drained from Tyler's terrified face. He'd only brought some cheap skewers, planning to just fire up an outdoor charcoal grill that evening. But now that I had totally hyped him up in front of everyone, how was he going to backpedal without looking like a total loser? When Tyler just stood there frozen, I jumped right up. Tyler must have an epic feast ready for us. Let me go check it out. Let's see what kind of gourmet stash is in the kitchen. As I marched toward the door, Tyler panicked and immediately threw himself in my way. His mouth twitched in panic as he forced a smile. You guys came a long way, so of course I went all out for you. But the ingredients are still on the way. I mean, if we're gonna feast, it's gotta be the absolute freshest, right? Hearing that a massive gourmet feast was actually coming, the rest of the class eagerly nodded along, totally buying his act. I just raised an eyebrow. Fresh seafood? Deep in the mountains? Please. Tyler clearly didn't have a damn thing prepared. I leaned back, absolutely eager to see how this guy was going to clean up the massive, embarrassing mess he just made. Slipping away when everyone was distracted, Tyler sneaked out into the courtyard and frantically dialed Chloe's number. On the other end, Chloe sounded seriously annoyed. What do you want? Hey, when you come over later, could you grab some abalone, sea cucumber, and stuff like that? Wait, you didn't prep the food? Chloe snapped. Everyone suddenly demanded abalone, sea cucumber, plus Wagyu beef and foie gras, Tyler pleaded. I have absolutely zero clue where to find that stuff out here. Hearing his desperation, Chloe went dead silent. Fine, I'll figure it out, she sighed. A flash of pure relief and smug delight lit up Tyler's face. You're a lifesaver, Chloe. If it wasn't for you, I'd be totally screwed. Tyler was so completely obsessed with saving his own skin in front of our classmates that he entirely failed to notice the heavy, exhausted tension in Chloe's voice. Just a few feet away, I leaned casually against the doorframe, watching Tyler desperately beg his girl for help in the courtyard, and I couldn't stop a dark smirk from forming. I actually thought he had some genius backup plan, but nope, he was just crying to Chloe to bail him out and save his fragile ego. If this were the old days, Chloe would have solved this pathetic crisis with a single swipe of her black card. But the game had changed. Now that the Wright family pulled all their investments, the Vance family was hanging on by a thread. Her family simply didn't have the cash flow to blindly fund Chloe's lifestyle or pamper her useless boyfriend anymore. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Seeing the caller ID, my smirk grew wider. I guess even God wanted to see Tyler crash and burn today. I hit answer. Ethan, sweetie, are you free today? Auntie Vance, I replied smoothly. Is there something you need? Oh, I just miss you so much. I'd love to treat you to a nice meal today. Do you think you could drop by the house for a bit? Hearing the sugary desperation in Mrs. Vance's voice, I instantly saw right through her little scheme. I shot a glance at Tyler, who was still pacing the courtyard, waiting for Chloe to save him. Is Chloe going to be there too? Oh, of course she is. Chloe misses you terribly. She feels just awful about offending you before, so I'm making sure she gives you a proper apology today. Oh, I see. Well, sure. But I actually have some other business to take care of tonight. So let's just do lunch at noon instead. I can be there shortly. Unless... Is that too much of a rush for you, Auntie? If it's too hard, we can just forget the whole thing. No, not a problem at all. Not in the slightest, she panicked. I'll start cooking right this second and wait for you. Perfect. I hung up, letting out a cold, satisfied laugh in my head. Mrs. Vance loved money more than life itself, and she was an absolute master at playing these pathetic, petty games. For her to call me up in such a frantic, sucking-up frenzy, something massively catastrophic must have hit the Vance family. I took my sweet time strolling back into the living room. It was already creeping up on 12 o'clock, and everyone's stomachs were loudly rumbling. Tyler was still glued to the window, staring down the road like a lost puppy, desperately waiting for Chloe to deliver his miracle. Finally, someone snapped. Tyler, bro, I am literally starving to death over here. When are we actually eating? It's basically 12 o'clock. Is this massive feast even happening? The grumbling crowd was starting to turn on him. Tyler threw his hands up, sweating bullets. Soon, guys, soon. Any minute now, let me just call and check. He whipped out his phone and frantically dialed Chloe again. But all he got was a busy signal. Over and over. Absolutely no answer. Watching his lifeline completely cut off, Tyler's face drained of color, turning a very ugly shade of panic. Knowing the timing was absolutely perfect, I stood up with a breezy smile. Well, looks like that food isn't coming. I've got some stuff to take care of at home, so I'm gonna head out. Have fun starving, guys. My words instantly sent a wave of angry panic through the room. These people had been sitting here for hours on empty stomachs, and this clown hadn't even offered them a single drop of hot tea. Tyler lunged forward to stop me, but I'd already grabbed my bag, shot a mocking wave to the crowd, and walked right out the door. Boom. Right at that exact second, a sleek luxury car rolled up outside the school gates. Everyone figured the food delivery guy had finally arrived, but jaws dropped when the door opened, and out stepped Natalie. Shielding herself with a parasol against the glaring sun, she walked straight over to me. Standing side by side, she and I looked like the ultimate power couple. The whole class practically broke their necks trying to get a look. Why the hell is Natalie picking up Ethan? Someone whispered. Wait, are those two dating? Who knows, man? But looking at him, there is no way in hell Ethan is some broke charity case. Broke? Are you kidding me? The guy casually gives away watches that easily cost 5 figures. The whispers rippled through the crowd like wildfire. By now, even Kevin was seriously starting to doubt his own eyes. Dude, Ethan does not look like a chauffeur's son at all, he muttered. Tyler, are you absolutely sure you didn't mess up your facts? Yeah, seriously. And if you look closely, Ethan is actually super hot now that he's dropped all that weight. Just super hot? The guy is drop-dead gorgeous. All this hyped-up chatter was making Tyler squirm in his shoes, completely humiliated. He stared down at his phone, grinding his teeth, unable to wrap his head around why Chloe was completely ignoring his calls. But what that idiot didn't know was that at this very moment, back at the Vance estate, Chloe was slumped in the living room, glaring daggers at her phone. Her mother had already reheated their lavish spread 1,000,000 times. Mrs. Vance shot her daughter an ice-cold glare. "When Ethan gets here, you had better fix that nasty attitude of yours, young lady." "Mom, I can't stand Ethan. I already have a boyfriend," she whined. "What boyfriend? Listen to me very carefully, Chloe Vance. Only Ethan is worthy of being the son-in-law of this family." Mrs. Vance snapped, snatching the phone right out from under Chloe's nose. She shot a disgusted look at the high-end lobsters, abalone, and sea cucumber that Chloe had been secretly trying to smuggle out to her loser boyfriend, her voice dropping to a freezing tone. "You are going to dump that pathetic little boy immediately. He's already convincing you to steal from your own home at your age. What kind of lowlife does that make him?" Hearing her mother trash him, Chloe's face twisted into a sullen, angry pout. "Mom, Tyler is a good guy. I won't let you talk trash about him." "A good guy? Are you insane? He is a gold digger targeting our family's wealth so he can climb the social ladder. I've seen 1,000,000 parasites like him. Only a naive little fool like you would fall for his garbage. Newsflash, sweetie, our family is at a total dead end. With the right family pulling out their funding, your father's business is about to go under. If you want to keep living like a spoiled princess, you will march over there and kiss up to Ethan. Locking him down in marriage is the only way we survive this." Right in the middle of her mother's vicious lecture, a sharp knock echoed from the front door. Mrs. Vance instantly straightened up, slapped on a fake, beaming smile, and practically sprinted to get it. But to her absolute horror, when she swung that door open, she didn't see me standing there. Instead, she was face to face with my father's personal secretary. "Are you Mrs. Vance? I am terribly sorry. Our young master had an urgent matter pop up and won't be joining you. He sent me to deliver the message." Mrs. Vance gasped. "What do you mean he isn't coming?" The second Chloe heard I was blowing them off, she completely lost her mind with rage. "We have been sitting here waiting for hours. The food has been reheated 3 times. He makes us wait way past the agreed time, and then just sends a lackey to cancel? He is doing this on purpose. He's playing us for absolute fools." Chloe bolted upright and stormed right out the front door. "Chloe Vance, where the hell do you think you are going? Get back here this instant." But Chloe totally ignored her screeching mother and threw herself into her car. She slammed the gas pedal straight to the floor, speeding like a maniac toward the Wright family estate. At that exact moment, Natalie and I were chilling at my place, enjoying a peaceful lunch. Suddenly, Chloe's banshee shrieks echoed from outside. "Ethan, open this damn door for me." With my parents out at work, it was just me and Natalie holding down the fort. I casually strolled over to the window, peering down at Chloe as she threw an absolute temper tantrum on the front lawn of our villa. Watching her lose her mind, I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow and smirk. It brought back crystal clear memories. In my past life, when her wretched family held all the power, the Wrights were the very first target they utterly crushed, tanking our family business without a second thought. Back then, my desperate parents just wanted a meeting with Chloe, only to be humiliated and locked outside her gates. Oh, how the tables turn. Now, she was finally getting a bitter taste of the exact same humiliation she put my parents through in my previous life. "Ethan, I know you are in there. Open this door right now," she screeched, literally shaking with fury. Meanwhile, back in the living room, Natalie just calmly strolled over to the landline phone, hitting the speed dial for our security team. "Yes, we have a lunatic making a scene at the front door. Please throw her out." She hung up the receiver, totally unbothered, and sat back down at the table. "Come on, let's just eat." I glanced back out the window, grinning as 2 of our burly security guards pinned Chloe's arms behind her back, dragging her away. Despite fighting tooth and nail, Chloe was shoved hard into the dirt. The guard sneered, completely out of patience. "Keep it moving. Get out of here. Beat it before things get ugly," he barked. But Chloe wasn't backing down. "I'm looking for Ethan," she screamed. "Tell that coward to come out and face me." "Still here? Fine. We're calling the cops." Chloe's jaw dropped. The great Chloe Vance? Treated like street trash? This was an absolute first. Her face twisted into an ugly snarl as she snapped. "Do you have any idea who I am?" I am the eldest daughter of the Vance family. How dare you treat a Vance like this? The guard just laughed. The Vance family? You guys aren't even fit to shine the right family's shoes. Besides, your whole empire is about to go bankrupt. Didn't you get the memo, princess? Give it a few days and you'll be begging on the streets for scraps. The truth was, the Vance family's spectacular downfall was already old news among the city's elite. Even the security guards patrolling this high-end villa district knew all the juicy gossip. Chloe's face went ice cold. What kind of garbage are you spouting? The guard smirked. Wow, looks like little Miss Vance really is clueless. Your precious family racked up a mountain of debt a long time ago. If President Wright hadn't been propping up all your failed projects, you would have gone under ages ago. Your family bit the hand that fed you first, yet you still have the nerve to show up demanding to see our eldest young master? Us tossing you to the curb is letting you off easy. Every word from the guard felt like a heavy boot, crushing Chloe's massive ego right into the pavement. Suddenly, she remembered what her mother had warned her about earlier today, that the Vance family was completely cornered. She had honestly thought her mom was just trying to pressure her into marrying me, so she figured the financial ruin was just an exaggerated lie. She never imagined it was all terrifyingly real. Save your breath. Stop looking for our young master, the guard warned. You're better off figuring out how to survive when your precious Vance title means absolutely nothing. With that final blow, the two guards grabbed the heavy iron gates of the Wright estate and slammed them shut with a massive, echoing thud. Chloe clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. Well played, Ethan Wright. Well played, Wright family, she hissed. To actually push me this far. Boiling with rage and humiliation, Chloe slammed on the gas and sped off. From my window, I watched her taillights fade into the distance, and a massive wave of pure, unadulterated satisfaction washed over me. If she was already crumbling from this tiny bit of humiliation, she had no idea what was coming. The real nightmare hadn't even started yet. That evening, when my parents got home, my dad was furious. I can't believe Chloe Vance had the nerve to make a scene at our doorstep. I patted his shoulder, trying to soothe him. Dad, don't let it get to you. If it bothers you that much, I'll just hang a giant sign at the gate tomorrow. It'll say, "No entry for Chloe Vance or stray dogs." That got a chuckle out of him. His tense expression finally softened as he shook his head. You little brat, you never take anything seriously. But honestly, the Vance family has gone way too far this time. How could they stoop so low? He let out a heavy sigh. It made my blood boil knowing how well he used to treat Chloe. After everything, she turned out to be nothing but a selfish, backstabbing leech. Seeing that he was perfectly riled up, I knew it was time to strike. Mom, Dad, I started casually. I remember from way back. Uncle Vance bought into the Wright family's shares, and we also hold a massive chunk of shares in the Vance enterprise, right? Yes, that's exactly right, my dad replied. I leaned in. Well, some of my buddies at school mentioned that the Vance family is drowning in financial trouble right now. I was thinking, since they burned the bridge between our families to ashes anyway, why don't we call up our lawyers and completely buy back the Wright family shares they currently hold? We can play it off as an act of charity to give them some fast cash. But in return, that huge block of shares we hold in their company, we force them to buy it all back and cash us out. I knew my dad way too well. He was a softy at heart, and even though he was angry enough to cut them off today, it was only a matter of time before they guilt-tripped him into bailing them out again. Plus, as long as they held on to our shares, they were passively cashing an 8-figure dividend check every single month. That easy money was the only thing keeping their heads above water, giving them a lifeline to breathe. But I wasn't about to let that happen. I wanted to completely obliterate their chances of a comeback. I wanted the mighty Vance family to taste exactly what it was like to starve in the gutters. Sure enough, my dad stroked his chin, mulling over my words carefully. You know what? You're right. Since they want nothing to do with us, we need to completely liquidate all our tied-up corporate assets. Hearing him say those words felt like a massive boulder rolling right off my chest. When the Vance empire inevitably crashed and burned, I wasn't going to let my dad's hard-earned investments go down with their sinking ship. Pulling our capital out right now was the ultimate damage control. It was the perfect excuse to sever our ties and wash our hands of them for good. Besides, I knew a secret. I remembered from my past life that the Vance family's impending crisis was a million times worse than just a simple bankruptcy. They were secretly burying themselves under a mountain of catastrophic, unpayable debt, and I was going to make sure they suffocated under it. In my past life, I was already married to Chloe Vance by this point. Because the Wright and the Vance families held mutual shares, my family had to bleed ourselves dry just to help them survive the storm. But in this lifetime, Chloe Vance is completely on her own. At the dinner table, Natalie sat in total silence. I could easily tell that something was heavily weighing on her mind. She rarely ever looked this troubled on a normal day. So I asked, "Natalie, are you upset about something?" She looked up and replied, "You care a lot about the Vance family, don't you?" Well, in a way, I actually do care quite a bit. But the truth is, what I really cared about was seeing the Vance family go entirely bankrupt and watching Chloe suffer a total, crushing defeat. I just couldn't say those dark thoughts out loud. I looked at her in total confusion. "Why would you suddenly ask me that? Are you worried that I care about the Vance family? Or that I still care about Chloe?" Seeing Natalie's dead serious face, I couldn't hold it in and suddenly burst out laughing. I don't give a damn about the Vance family, and I certainly don't care about Chloe Vance either. The only thing I care about is making sure our Wright family doesn't get dragged down with them and scammed out of our hard-earned money. You can rest easy. I know exactly how poorly the Vance family treated you in the past, so there is absolutely zero chance I would ever pity them. Natalie, I am always standing on your side. Hearing my words, Natalie completely froze. It took her quite a while to finally snap back to reality. "You're always on my side?" "Yeah, of course." "Then what about Chloe Vance?" she asked. "What does she have to do with me?" "But you used to like her so much." "Like you just said, that was in the past. People always have to keep looking forward. Sure, I liked her before, but I definitely do not like her anymore." "Then who do you like now?" "I like my family, and I like myself." Just as Natalie sadly lowered her eyes, I walked right over to her and gently grabbed her hand. "And of course, you are also my family." With that single, genuine sentence, Natalie suddenly felt her heart skip a whole beat. Family. But deep down, she really didn't want to be just his family. Meanwhile, back at the summer resort villa, Tyler was miserably cleaning up the entire mess all by himself. Not only had all their classmates ditched him in the afternoon, but because Chloe totally stood him up, he lost absolutely all his dignity in front of everyone. Even Kevin made up a lame excuse and took off by evening. The more Tyler thought about the absolute humiliation, the more utterly miserable he felt. Refusing to just give up, he pulled out his phone and frantically kept calling Chloe. But unlike all his previous attempts, this time, Chloe actually picked up. Tyler completely missed the heavy exhaustion in Chloe's tone. Instead, he just started yelling angrily. "Chloe Vance, you ignored my calls the entire day. What on earth were you doing? Do you have any idea how much you humiliated me in front of all our classmates? If you don't give me a proper explanation right now, we are officially breaking up." Ever since the two of them started dating, Tyler always kept the threat of breaking up right on the tip of his tongue. Usually, this pathetic trick worked incredibly well on her. Every single time Tyler threw a fake tantrum and threatened to break up, Chloe would always patiently soothe him and beg him to stay. But this time was different. Chloe stayed dead silent on the other end of the line for a very long time, making Tyler's heart anxiously skip a beat. Realizing that things were going terribly wrong, he immediately reined in his childish temper. "Chloe, I am so sorry. I really am. I was just way too angry. I didn't actually mean to break up with you. Are you okay?" The other side remained quiet for a good while before Chloe's incredibly exhausted voice finally came through the speaker. "Tyler, let's just take a few days off to cool down." Before he could say another word, Chloe hung up the phone. Hearing that dial tone caused Tyler's expression to instantly twist into something incredibly hideous. It had only been one single day. What on earth went so wrong? By the very next day, the juicy gossip of Chloe and Tyler's massive fight was already known to the entire class. Why? Because Chloe, who absolutely loved showing off her perfect romance to everyone, had actually completely removed her matching couple profile picture with Tyler late last night. Not only that, but everyone immediately connected it to her standing Tyler up the day before, and that embarrassing rumor spread like wildfire too. Tyler, who used to be so obnoxiously active in the class group chat, didn't dare say a single word the entire day. Honestly, I wasn't surprised by this pathetic outcome at all. Besides, as far as I was concerned, focusing on my studies was far more important than munching popcorn over their high school drama. That evening, my father returned home with a heavy face full of sorrow, making my mother look incredibly worried. Did things not go smoothly at the company today? Why do you have such a long, miserable face? Today, the Vance family came knocking on our door again, begging to see me, but I managed to turn them away. But regarding buying back and returning those mutual shares that Ethan mentioned last night, I honestly still don't know how to bring that up with them. After all, we've had over 10 solid years of friendship. In my past life, Mrs. Vance completely understood this overly soft-hearted trait of my dad's, which was exactly why she ruthlessly leached off the Wright family time and time again. In the end, if our Wright family didn't cave in and help them, we were the ones who ended up painted with a terrible reputation called cold-hearted, ungrateful, and absolute monsters. Seeing history trying to repeat itself, I decided to take the initiative and speak up. Dad, how about you just let me and the lawyer go discuss this business matter with them? He sighed. What does a young kid like you even know about returning and buying back corporate shares? Dad, come on, I'm already 17 years old. I'm not a little kid anymore. Look, even if I don't get all the technical stuff about buying back shares, that's exactly what the lawyer is here for. I'm just heading over there to talk some sense into Auntie Vance so we can finally get our shares back in our own hands. I swear, I won't do anything reckless. Seeing the dead serious look in my eyes, my dad finally let out a long, heavy sigh of surrender. All right, go ahead and give it a shot. Just remember, it's perfectly fine if we take a small loss on this deal. I just don't want people out there saying we threw away years of friendship and loyalty. Hearing him say that, I couldn't help but scoff in my mind with a bitter, self-deprecating smirk. Seriously? Are they really going to accuse the Wright family of being disloyal after everything we've done? The insane amount of financial backing we've blindly thrown at the Vance family over the years has been more than enough charity for one lifetime. But the Vance family? They're nothing but a pack of bloodthirsty, ungrateful wolves who never deserved a single ounce of our generosity. This time, I swear I'm going to make the Vance family lose absolutely everything, stripping them down to their very last cent before I'm through with them. Bright and early the next day, I took the initiative and marched our lawyer right up to their front door. Mrs. Vance was already in a foul, irritable mood, completely stressing out over the recent market crash that was actively tanking Vance Enterprise. When the doorbell suddenly rang, her heart dropped. She honestly thought it was a mob of aggressive debt collectors coming to harass her. She yanked the front door open, her face twisted in sheer impatience. Who knocks on people's doors this early in the goddamn morning? Didn't I already tell you the money would be paid back? But right as those furious words left her mouth, Mrs. Vance looked up and froze, spotting me standing calmly on her porch. Who are? I cut her off with a polite smile. Auntie Vance, it's me, Ethan. Realizing who was actually standing in front of her, Mrs. Vance's jaw dropped so hard it practically hit the floor. It had only been a few short months. How on earth did that chubby, pathetic Ethan she remembered undergo such an unbelievable glow-up? Ethan, oh my God, it really is you, Ethan. I am so sorry I got tied up with some things the last time you reached out. Well, I made sure to come pay you a proper visit this time. Auntie Vance, you're not mad at me, are you? I asked innocently. Instantly, a massive, fake smile plastered itself across her face. Mad? How could your auntie ever be mad at you? Hurry, come on inside. Wow, Ethan, you are just getting more and more handsome by the day. I seriously almost didn't recognize you out there. As she kept flattering me, Mrs. Vance played the warm host, eagerly ushering me into her home. Ethan, sweetie, did you come over here looking for Chloe today? Hold on, let me call her right now and make her bring her butt back home. That silly girl. Heaven only knows where she ran off to play. I'm definitely giving her an earful when she gets back. Humming happily, Mrs. Vance started brewing a fresh pot of tea for me. Auntie, please, don't trouble yourself, I interrupted smoothly. I actually didn't come here for Chloe this time. I came here specifically to see you. To see... me? She blinked, utterly confused. I coolly shifted my gaze to the man standing right beside me. Yes, this gentleman here is the lead lawyer for the Wright Group. We're here today to formally discuss buying back our company shares from you. Buying back shares? Hearing that, Mrs. Vance's heart violently skipped a beat. A wave of sheer panic washed over her, utterly terrified that I was about to snatch away the Vance family's very last lifeline. My dad heard that finances have been incredibly tight for Vance Enterprise lately, and since he remembered that your company still holds a chunk of shares in the Wright Group, he specially hired this lawyer to buy those shares back at a premium price. Think of it as our way of helping Vance Enterprise weather this terrible financial storm. My words were wrapped in sweet kindness. But the ruthless underlying message was crystal clear. We were cutting ties for good. Caught in my trap, Mrs. Vance was agonizing over the decision in her heart, completely torn. On one hand, it was an undeniable fact that the Vance family currently owed an astronomical mountain of debt. If they couldn't scrape together the cash to pay it back in time, she was terrified that this very mansion would be seized and tossed on the auction block. But on the flip side, if she actually signed over the Wright Group shares, her family would lose their single remaining source of future income. Desperate, Mrs. Vance shamelessly swallowed her pride. "Oh, Ethan, since you brought this up, your auntie actually happens to have a massive favor to beg of you. Ever since Chloe's father passed away, we've only survived thanks to the Wright family's generous care. But right now, our family is truly going through our darkest, hardest time. I was just wondering, do you think your dad would be willing to extend a helping hand and loan us some emergency funds? I swear to you, the absolute second Vance Enterprise gets back on its feet, I will repay every single penny. Plus, your family holds shares in our company too, right? Once we're profitable again, the dividends the Wright family gets will be massively higher." Staring right into Mrs. Vance's desperately pathetic and seemingly sincere puppy dog eyes, I couldn't hold back the icy, mocking laughter echoing in my mind. "Auntie, exactly how much money does the Vance family need to survive this storm?" Seeing me take the bait, Mrs. Vance instantly perked up and blurted, "We just need $1 billion. We're only short exactly $1 billion. And with that, our family will easily bounce back from this." Hearing that utterly delusional request of $1 billion, I perfectly faked a deeply troubled expression. "Wow, you still need $1 billion? Terrified that I was going to turn her down, Mrs. Vance frantically lunged forward and grabbed my hands. "Ethan, please, you are such a good kid, and your father is an absolute saint. We are just a helpless widow and an orphan girl. We really have zero options left. If we don't get this $1 billion, I'm terrified Chloe and I will literally be sleeping on the freezing streets." Mrs. Vance was fully banking on me being just as foolishly soft-hearted as my dad. So right then and there, she poured on the crocodile tears, putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of her absolute misery. "Listen, Ethan, I know Chloe was completely ungrateful and foolish before, but I've already disciplined her strictly. Please rest assured, in my heart, I only recognize you as my one and only son-in-law. Once you marry Chloe, you'll practically be my own son. The Vance and Wright families will be united as one big, happy family." Listening to Mrs. Vance spout these sickening, nauseating lies, I genuinely couldn't stomach it anymore and sharply pulled my hand away from her grasp. "Auntie, let's hold off on the one family talk for now. $1 billion is a staggering amount of money. Even if our Wright family has deep pockets, we simply can't liquidate $1 billion on a whim." Hearing this, Mrs. Vance instantly panicked. Then what are we supposed to do? If we can't scrape together that $1 billion in the next few days, those ruthless debt collectors will literally show up at our doorstep and auction off our entire house. I kept my expression perfectly calm and comforted the frantic woman in front of me. "Auntie, please, take a deep breath. Don't be so anxious. While my family can't just hand over $1 billion, you actually have a way to produce it yourself." She blinked in shock. "Me? Where on earth would I get $1 billion? You still hold 5% of our Wright Group shares. It might not sound like a massive chunk, but its market value is easily hovering around 700 to 800 million. Right now, the Vance family is bleeding cash. Sure, those 5% shares pay out a nice little monthly dividend, but a slow trickle of water won't put out a raging house fire. So, out of pure respect for the long-standing relationship our two families have shared over the years, I've decided to stick my neck out. I'll personally authorize the use of $1 billion to buy back that 5% of Wright Group shares from Vance Enterprise. When the dust settles, I'll just have to beg my dad to figure out a way to sell off that 5% to cover the gap. Even though my family will be eating a loss of a few $100 million, I'm willing to do it if it means pulling the Vance family back from the brink of ruin. As I laid out this seemingly flawless plan, Mrs. Vance's eyes lit up with sudden greed. She was completely swayed. After all, this meant pocketing an extra 2 to 300 million for absolutely no reason at all. A shockingly good deal like this was essentially a financial handout you couldn't find anywhere else in the world. But will Mr. Wright actually agree to this? I smiled gently. My dad has a total soft spot for you, Auntie. Just leave the talking to me, and I guarantee it'll go through smoothly. Seeing that Mrs. Vance was still shifting on her feet, agonizingly hesitant and indecisive, clearly unwilling to let go of a golden cash cow like the Wright Group shares, I leaned in and pushed harder. Auntie, I'm genuinely trying to save you here. I've heard rumors about these underground debt collectors. They use absolutely ruthless, barbaric methods. If they don't get their money, they won't hesitate to start chopping off hands and feet. The sheer mention of getting her hands and feet chopped off drained every ounce of color from Mrs. Vance's face. She turned completely pale, trembling in fear. Then I'll sign over the shares right now. But roughly how soon can this cash actually hit our account? I kept my voice steady. Auntie, don't rush. There is just one more tiny condition you absolutely must agree to first. She swallowed hard. What condition is that? My dad sent me here with a strict mission to fulfill, I replied. Since I'm bending the rules to help you out with such a massive, life-saving favor, I need you to buy back the 5% of Vance Enterprise shares that our Wright Group currently holds, she gasped. But it's your family that wants to dump those shares. And we are completely broke right now. We can't produce that kind of cash at all. I smiled reassuringly. Ah, Auntie, don't worry. I've already crunched the numbers for you. Right now, the Vance Enterprise stock has completely tanked in the market. The sheer value of your shares has plummeted by more than half. At a rock-bottom time like this, taking back our 5% of Vance Enterprise shares is actually the most profitable move you could possibly make. Once your company's market value inevitably bounces back, you can easily flip those shares for a massive profit. Auntie, just think about it logically. Before the crash, that 5% of Vance Enterprise shares we held was worth nearly $1 billion. But now that the Vance Enterprise stock has crashed and burned, that same 5% is worth less than $200 million. No matter how you slice it, the Wright family is the one taking the massive financial hit here. Furthermore, by buying back your Wright Group shares just a moment ago, I basically handed you an extra $300 million in pure subsidies. After all that, you can't possibly refuse to help me out with such a tiny, insignificant favor, right? Hearing my rapid-fire string of financial calculations, Mrs. Vance was left completely dizzy and muddled. Although she fancied herself a shrewd, calculating woman, she was painfully inexperienced when it actually came to corporate management. That's exactly why she was so easily led by the nose straight into my trap, I suppose. That is true. I really should return the favor. Otherwise, I'd just look far too cold and heartless. If this deal was strictly about her relinquishing those highly coveted Wright Group shares, Mrs. Vance definitely would have dragged her feet in hesitation. But when it came to buying back her own Vance Enterprise shares from my Wright family at a steep discount, Mrs. Vance couldn't have wished for a better setup. After all, in her greedy mind, these shares could eventually be flipped and sold off again down the road for a mountain of cash. Plus, it meant she would never have to pay out monthly dividends to the Wright family ever again. Thrilled, Mrs. Vance affectionately patted my hand. I'll go grab my personal seal right this second. I'll bring the original share agreement too. You are such a good child, Ethan. Just wait right here for me. I nodded with a warm, deceptive smile. The exact second Mrs. Vance's back turned and she left the room, the warm smile completely vanished from my face, replaced by ice. I picked up my teacup and took a slow, unhurried sip. Mr. Wright, the lawyer sitting next to me, was just about to open his mouth to ask a question, but my sharp, freezing gaze instantly cut him off. Terrified by the chilling shift in my demeanor, the lawyer swallowed hard and didn't dare speak another word. Very quickly, Mrs. Vance came scurrying excitedly out of the bedroom. The ink dried fast on that contract, and the second my fingers brushed the original share agreement between the Wright and Vance families, man, you have no idea how good that felt. A cold, satisfied smirk finally spread across my face. With this single piece of paper, our Wright family is officially done being tangled up with the Vance family, and we definitely won't be dealing with Ethan over this money anymore. Oh, don't you worry, Auntie Vance, I said, keeping my tone perfectly sweet. The money will hit your account before you know it. But there is just one tiny little detail we need to iron out first. Since your family is, well, going through a bit of a rough patch right now, I figured coughing up the $200 million you owe the Wright Group might be a bit of a stretch for you to handle all at once. Hearing this, Mrs. Vance practically bobbed her head off in desperate agreement. So, I continued, I went ahead and thought up two little options for you. Option 1. We just deduct that debt straight out of the $1 billion we're supposed to be returning to you. Option 2. Your family can just owe us the $200 million for now. I'll have my lawyer draw up a quick contract, and we'll just put down some equivalent assets from Vance Enterprise as collateral. Easy, right? Collateral. We'll do the collateral, she blurted out. She chose the second option without a single shred of hesitation. Hook, line, and sinker. It played right into my hands. Excellent choice, I purred. I glanced back at my lawyer holding his laptop. Did you draft up the contract like we just discussed? It is already drafted, sir, he replied smoothly. Mr. Wong printed it out and slid the freshly typed contract right onto the table between me and Mrs. Vance. If you don't see any issues with this, Auntie, we can sign it right here, right now. That way we can wire those much-needed funds to your family as quickly as possible. Hearing the promise of fast cash, Mrs. Vance nodded repeatedly. Let's be real, she didn't have the first clue how to actually read a legal document anyway. But in her greedy little mind, as long as she thought the terms were bailing out her precious Vance family, that was all that mattered. I just sat back and unhurriedly took a sip of my tea, watching her pretend to carefully review the pages. She eagerly stamped her seal and scribbled down her signature. A genuinely satisfied, almost wicked smile finally broke across my face. All right, Auntie Vance. For the collateral, let's just jot down your family's 5 prime properties in the city center, along with those 3 luxury cars. But honestly, it feels like that's still falling just a little bit short. This puts me in a tough spot. I sighed, putting on a perfectly troubled face. Utterly terrified that I might back out of our little deal, Mrs. Vance panicked. Wait, I still have a secret stash of designer jewelry locked in my trunk. It's all worth an absolute fortune. It's easily worth at least $20 million. Just wait right here. I'll go fetch it all for you. I gave a slow, reluctant nod. Well, if that's the case, it should be just about enough to cover it. Mr. Wong, please add that to the record. Right away, Mr. Wright. Mr. Wong typed furiously, locking every single thing that desperate woman just offered straight into the ironclad clauses of the contract. Watching Mrs. Vance sign and seal her life away a second time, I finally stood up. Once the official corporate seal is stamped later today, we'll immediately wire the funds to the Vance Enterprise account. Well, Auntie, I'll be taking my leave now. She blinked, surprised. You're leaving already? Won't you at least stay for dinner after Chloe gets back? No, thank you, Auntie Vance. I'm quite all right. Without another word, Mr. Wong and I walked right out of the Vance family villa. Honestly, if I had stayed in that house for even one more second, I would have burst out into maniacal laughter. Outside, my lawyer hesitated. Mr. Wright, is it really appropriate to do this? I scoffed. What exactly is inappropriate about it? For years, we've bled ourselves dry, funneling unimaginable amounts of money into their ungrateful pockets. It is high time the Vance family finally pays up. My expression was completely cold, a mask of absolute, merciless indifference. To put it simply, I was never going to let the Wright family take a loss ever again, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let those leeches take advantage of us for nothing anymore. By the time I returned home that evening, my dad was pacing the floor, completely stressed out that my little mission hadn't gone smoothly, especially when he caught a glimpse of Mr. Wong's shell-shocked face. My dad let out a heavy, defeated sigh. Just spit it out, son. How much money did we lose this time? Just give me a ballpark figure so I can brace myself. I grinned. Dad, we actually made $700 million. He froze. Made? And $700 million? At that, right on cue, Mr. Wong handed over the freshly signed agreement, placing it squarely in front of my dad. Half doubtful and half desperate, my old man flipped open the folder. "Let me see exactly how on earth you managed to pull $700 million out of thin air," he muttered. He really didn't take my word for it at first, but the deeper he read into that contract, the more his eyes widened in sheer disbelief. He actually had to stop and shove his reading glasses onto his face, looking like he'd just seen a ghost. She actually signed and sealed all of this under your guidance?" "Yup." She was so desperate to make a clean break with us. She only asked for $1 billion. Not only did she hand over the Wright family shares, but she literally handed us the deeds to their houses and cars as collateral. "Dad, it's all right there in black and white. Do you really think I'd lie to you about something this huge?" My dad was completely speechless. He just couldn't wrap his head around it. Those 5% shares in the Wright Group? We could easily flip those to an outside investor for a cool $1.5 billion. Yet, those idiots in the Vance family not only settled for a measly $1 billion to return them, they also locked up all their prime assets in collateral. It was absolutely mind-boggling. "But what exactly is the catch with all this collateral?" he finally asked. "Simple, Dad. Doesn't our family still hold shares in Vance Enterprise? Our dear Auntie Vance couldn't produce the cash to buy out those shares all at once. So I laid a little trap, and she walked right into it. Look," I told Auntie Vance, staring her dead in the eye, "if you can't cough up the cold hard cash by the deadline, you need to put up collateral of equal value to keep this debt afloat." I made it crystal clear. We could auction off that collateral whenever we wanted to recoup our losses. Hearing my cutthroat explanation, my dad was completely taken aback. You see, in the past, whenever the Vance family leached money off us, they would just scribble down a flimsy IOU at best. And to make matters worse, they never even bothered to slap a repayment date on those worthless pieces of paper. Thanks to his decades of close friendship with them, my dad had never been strict about collecting. Over just the past year or so, the Vance family had already racked up a debt to us in the tens of millions. Yet, playing the ultimate victim card as a poor widow and her orphaned daughter, they spun a web of pathetic excuses every single time, crying that they were completely broke. My dad honestly never expected that I'd actually corner Mrs. Vance into signing a rock-solid collateral contract this time. Sitting nearby, my mom finally chimed in, her brow furrowed with worry. "But the stock market for Vance Enterprise has completely tanked recently. That 5% chunk of shares isn't worth nearly enough to cover this anymore. How on earth did you get her to sign over so much collateral?" I just smirked. "Mom, the Vance family used to be high society royalty, remember? And Auntie Vance is completely clueless when it comes to financial economics. Naturally, she has absolutely zero idea how bad their stock is crashing right now. I just stroked her massive ego and inflated their family's fading status with a few sweet, fake compliments. And Auntie Vance swallowed it hook, line, and sinker." My mom hesitated, but, "Won't this be a bit ruthless?" I scoffed. "What's ruthless about it? They've bled us dry for a massive amount of money over the last year, and neither that mother nor her daughter ever planned on paying us back a single dime. Auntie Vance even had the nerve to flaunt her lavish jewelry collection to me earlier. Those pieces alone easily cost tens of millions. Obviously, it's not that they're too broke to pay us back. They just straight up don't want to. Besides, it's an open secret around town that the Vance family is completely drowning in debt right now. Our willingness to shell out our hard-earned cash to bail them out means we've already gone above and beyond what honor and friendship require." I looked my parents dead in the eyes, dropping all the humor, and spoke with absolute deadpan seriousness. "Mom, Dad, loyalty and friendship matter in business, yes, but if the other side takes us for absolute fools, then we need to stop being so damn soft-hearted. I will never, ever forget how viciously the Vance family destroyed our family in my past life. In this second chance at life, I am merely giving them a brutal taste of their own poison.